Go ahead and hit go live. Going live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Welcome
Hello.
to Dark Tower Palaver. I am Tad.
I'm Peter.
And we're here for our last book club of 2022. So that's...
It's kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, I know. This may be the year that we've done the most book clubs.
Yeah, because we changed up how we're doing stuff.
Well, not only that, but
I
think we've been more consistent this year than we have been. Because 2017 we pretty much sidelined book clubs for the most part. But I feel like other years book clubs have been a little bit less priority in some ways. So this year though, we've been hitting them pretty hard, and I don't know. I don't know that. I haven't calculated it out, but it just feels to me like we've done more book club stuff this year than we have years past.
Probably.
So, let's let's go ahead and maybe hit the intro and dive right in. Welcome everyone that's in the chat with us. It shows if YouTube is correct, there's a couple people in here outside of Peter, which he doesn't count, of course.
Nope. No, he does not.
Yep. The help doesn't count. You are
I'm the help.
Wow. You and I don't. Well, I don't count at all. I don't even show as a number in here. I'm just like
you're the streamer.
I'm invisible.
I'm someone who's watching.
Yeah, technically, it's weird that they don't have like a dual thing for streaming in terms of like that there could be two different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of weird because there's almost every stream I watch, it's multiple people.
It's individual streams. So what it would be is I would stream myself, and then you would have what's called like on Twitch has it. It's called a squad stream, is where it shows both streams at once. So
yeah,
if we ever did a bonus thing where we get together and play a game like we've talked about, going back through and playing like the old Halos or the Gears of War or something like that, definitely would hook up a squad stream with you and get you a Twitch account and we'd play some games.
I don't know what that means, but I'll take your word for it. Let's go ahead and hit the intro and then dive right in. We are here right at the heat of things of this book. We've got the Deans facing down Blaine. We've got Jake inside a room with some probably terrible people if we judge by Gasher, and then Roland and Oy are sitting outside that same room. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Let's go ahead and hit the intro and dive right in. Maybe. What's going on here? Yeah, don't know what. Let me see.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are Ka-Tet, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for the last book club, which is book club of 2022, which is book club number 21 of the Wastelands.
You can't pause there. You can't say the last book club.
I had to look over because I was kind of blanking on what number we were on here. Like it just, I also usually when I'm like behind the scenes doing all like the stuff for the podcast, I'll save stuff on my desktop and then I'll put them in folders and put them into deep storage on the computer. I'll admit I haven't done that in a while. So just this morning, as I was looking at my computer, I think I filed like 4 episodes now that were still on my desktop. So 19, 20, like round tables, all this shit's been in my head this morning. So it was just enough to screw up my brain to not know exactly what episode number we're on here.
So what you're saying is you've been slacking.
Yeah, my desktop was looking very, very cluttery, so had to get that cleaned up. So, yeah, that definitely threw things up. But yes, we're here to discuss. We're getting to the heat of it here with things. I mean, a lot of tension here. I mean, we had tension earlier with the drawing of Jake. There was a lot of shenanigans going on there. What with demons and living houses and all sorts of portals and
there's been a lot of tension throughout this book. Even
giant
going
bears.
Back, I was gonna say going back all the way to the beginning, we have a giant bear attack Eddie out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and then
some mangy little beast attacking a boy on a
Stop
bridge.
it! Stop it! We haven't even got to the intro yet, and we already get a hashtag Tad is terrible.
There's been a lot of danger in this book, but it seems. I mean, we've had Gasher now beating Jake up for a couple.
Mike, not you
sub-chapters.
too. Stop it. I will not have this slander against the best boy in the series. Yeah, him. No.
So we've got Roland and Oi just outside of the door where Jake is at. If we assume anything by what we've seen from Gasher, we assume the people behind that door are not. Jake's not having a nice party in there.
Not tea and crumpets with the queen.
No, not at all. And then of course the Deans are facing down with a very dangerous creature known as Blaine, which we've already had some story build up that he's electrocuted someone to death.
Yeah.
That has approached him and
with blue lightning.
Yeah, exactly. There's all kind. Everyone's in danger right now.
Yeah.
Like pretty much, maybe not the first time that all of them have been in danger since the drawing, but this certainly feels. And then they're all separated too. At least with the drawing, they were together. It was a unit. Everyone was working together. Now they're all scattered all over this goddamn city.
Which whenever that happens with a group, I mean, look at like Lord of the Rings, right? Like the fellowship breaks apart and they never come back together.
They never come back together.
People start dying from that. And it's just like, wait a minute. No.
And let's just pause for a second and think about Mr. Eddie and his thought of helpful elves in this city.
Yeah.
How does that feel now, looking back on those hopes? Now that we've seen what we've seen in this city.
Rub it in just a little bit, like.
Because, I mean, I don't know if when I was reading, if I necessarily thought back to that. But now thinking about it, I'm like.
Well, yeah, because when we're covering it, it's something that has come up multiple times. It's just like the frustration you've had with Eddie. Just like, God damn it, dude. Like face reality, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but how much sillier do those hopes of Eddie's
even more
look
so
now that we've actually seen what this city has to offer? And then, of course, the murdering of a man on his birthday, poor Winston getting killed on his birthday. So, well, let's go ahead and dive into the everything for the intro. We don't really have a spoiler warning. We'll have a spoiler at the a spoiler section at the very end. You will know by a very distinct sound as well as screen if you're watching. You'll see and hear something that warns you where the spoiler section begins, but it will be at the very end of the episode, and you will be well aware of it. You will have to be blind and deaf to stumble your way into it accidentally. But so outside of that, in this episode, though, we'll stay where we're at or before. We won't spoil ahead on things. These are the safe episodes to listen to if you've not finished the series, so long as you are where we're at or before, or I guess or after. You could be after. You could be ahead of us.
Yeah.
But you can't be behind us. That would be trouble.
Yeah.
And then if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can stream us on Spotify, Stitcher, many podcasting services, as well as now, very recently just announced, we are also on Amazon Music and Audible. So the podcast can be found in those places as well. It looks like Audible. It kind of makes sense that Audible has jumped into podcasting because it seems like they've been kind of expanding beyond audiobooks for the last year or two, where they've been adding things like audio dramas. They've been adding like just a lot of shorter form stuff,
even like
versus books.
Even like their Audible premium stuff, like where you get like a credit a month with the $14.95 membership and everything. They even have stuff where it's like, this is made exclusively like for that. Like they have exclusives for that. But they've also been producing, like you said, audio dramas. They've done podcasts, and they have just straight up just audiobooks that they're just like, yeah, this is free. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So that's fun to be over there. If you could subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those services that allow that we would appreciate that. And then you can join us on the live streams as a few people we have here. Mike, Robert, so far that have chimed in. We've got some others count-wise, as long as YouTube is not lying to me. If you'd like to join us on the live streams, you can find us over at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. If you want to like, subscribe, and ring the bell on those for notifications, you'll kind of be alerted when we're going live. I'm sure I've actually done that myself, which is strange. But then after the episodes, I'll look at my phone to look at my stuff. Like, Dark Tower Palaver went live. I'm like, I know.
Yes, I know.
I know.
I got a notification as I got here today. I was getting out of the car, and it's like, Dark Tower Palaver live is going live in a half hour, and I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why it's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. But for anyone that is not Peter or myself, you know, it's good to have those notifications. We generally try to keep these pretty regular with when we record. But if there's ever times we have to change them and maybe you miss that announcement, the notifications are really handy to have. Now, of course, the nightmare would always be that, you know, you get one of those notifications saying Dark Tower Palaver is going live in 30 minutes and you're sitting at home.
You've told me about your reoccurring nightmare that one of these days I'm going to come walking in and you're going to be like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, like, somehow I forget what week we're on and I've done no prep and it's like, oh man.
I just come walking in and be like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I always just start to sweat a little bit about this time on off weeks. I'm just like, not every week, but every once in a while it enters my mind. It's like, man, imagine if Peter walked in right
He
now.
hits 310 and he goes, oh, you okay? It's not.
Yeah. Exactly. So there is all that. And then if you want to find the show notes, find that at darktowerpalaver.com. We don't really have show notes for these episodes, but we have them for our roundtables, as well as you can find the questions for new listeners if you are new to our extended Ka-Tet. And then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. We just did a double header for Hangouts. We've caught up on November, where we had a fun little discussion on what books we would want to erase from our memory to read again for the first time.
For all of King, not just Dark Tower.
For King, yeah. And then
we did top 5.
And then we also did a double header, and we did the December Hangout, where we watched the Christmas classic Misery.
Yep, very festive.
Very festive, very happy.
Warm,
I mean,
Christmassy, and everything like that.
Yeah, you got, help getting somebody back, getting him all fixed up and stuff. You've got snow. You've
poor
got
weather and bad driving conditions.
A porcelain penguin. I mean, Christmas usually has penguins involved. All those claymation ones, there was usually some sort of penguin involved. So, yeah, it seems very Christmassy, right?
Exactly. That's why we watched it.
Exactly. And then if you want to contact us, you can do that in a number of ways that Peter can let you know about.
Best way you can reach us is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Ted, how's our mailbag looking?
I actually don't remember now.
Okay. Our social media is Twitter. It's @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. Our Facebook is facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. And then our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word. No spaces in there. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/user DarkTowerPalaver. tpublic.com/user/DarkTowerPalaver. You can get one of two different logos. Well, different types on the logo. You got the classic one that Tad's wearing, or you can get the one that I currently have. It's hashtag Tad is terrible. I figure, I should do it here on the show and rebrand the new water bottle that I've had for like a year. Let's go ahead and just
how dare you
put that right on.
So on the mailbag question, we do have a couple people sent some stuff in, as well as it's a good reminder to get your nominations in for your best Dark Tower moments.
I guess that's true.
For the March Madness. The deadline will be the final episode of the year, so you still have a fortnight to get those in. Moments, we want to keep them to be shorter, like something like you can't say all of door 3 in the second book, but you could easily say something like
the confrontation with the police at the pawn shop or gun shop or whatever.
Yeah, that's a perfect moment.
Yeah.
So get those sent in, as well as everyone has.
I guess we shouldn't say that. That's a spoiler.
What?
Past where we are. Oh no, that's book 2. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, I just freaked out thinking like we shouldn't talk ahead, but that was from behind, so we're good.
Yes, exactly.
We're good.
And then of course there's people have some emails about news that's happened, so we'll be covering that.
There is big news. We obviously covered it last we had an emergency episode.
Yeah.
Go check out that video. And then we will be talking about it more and more at the year-end bash. Look how good that looks.
Yeah.
Look how good that looks.
Slander.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Slander.
You can get stickers. You can get a notebook. You can get a pillow.
I wonder if they have Randall Flag buttons.
No.
They should.
Hashtag flag is terrible.
No, flag's awesome. So yeah, then calendar-wise, we have this episode. Then we have a fortnight from now. We have Roundtable 131, which is the year-end bash. Be prepped for that. We're going to be talking all about the Flanagan news, and I guess whatever you guys want. But I do have a feeling that's going to be the largest.
That's going to dominate.
That's going to be the largest topic of conversation. So that'll be it for this year. And then starting back up into next year, we are back on the 14th. So the way it lines up, there isn't really much of a break. Sometimes we have breaks depending on where we have to start, because it's weird. We could line things up if we hit it one week and start we miss all the holidays and stuff. So
my
we just-
anniversary, your birthday, my birthday, Thanksgiving,
all the
Christmas,
major holidays,
4th
it's-
of July, Memorial Day, usually is-
crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So sometimes, depending on how the years, we have to have a little bit of a longer break. But this one, we will be back in a fortnight after the 131.
Yeah.
So that's all the announcements. Let's see what shenanigans is going on in the chat here.
My wife popped in for the sticker unveiling. She knew I had it, so she asked to be aware.
Slanderous.
So she put in the
sticker.
chat #Ted is terrible, and she knows this to be true. She's experienced it.
Nah. All right, and then I got some Blaine and Tick-Tock talk. So it's gonna be some fun stuff. Let's dive in. So we are on book 2, which is titled Lud. Of course, book 3 of the whole series, which is called The Wastelands. But this one's split into 2 books. The second book is called Lud, with the subtitle Heap of Broken Images. We are currently on chapter 5, which is Bridge and City, and we are in subchapter 28. And then let's see. Let me pull it up here. I was going to try to get a synopsis of where we left off. It's where basically the deans are at Blaine's thing, and they don't know what what Blaine is wanting.
All about.
They're not sure. So that's where we jump back in. Roland is has approached the door. Jake has gone into the door. We don't know what's in the door. We did, the only hint we got was it said it was the weirdest room that Jake had ever entered, but that's all we've seen. We don't know what's afoot. So now this episode we'll be able to get some clarity on all this.
On both of those. It's not just one this time. It's going to be going back and
We're going to touch on all 3.
Yeah, and it's only 3 subchapters that we're covering today, because subchapter 28 is quite a robust one. We've had quite a few of those recently.
Yeah, King's getting a little long-winded here as we're getting closer to the end of the book.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you took all the short ones and just put them towards the front.
Yeah.
So, subchapter 28, Jake looks around the room that he's in. Like Tad said it before, it was the weirdest room he was in. And I said it reminds him of a missile silo. It is decorated in a weird way, part museum, part living room, and part hippie crash pad. There's rugs, chests, lamps, and chairs, and there is a draft from a band of ventilators about 4 or 5 feet above Jake's head. On the far side of the room, there is another door identical to the one Gasher brought Jake through, and it continues along the path of the beam. It's just interesting that Jake notices that, even though he's underground after going down under all that rubble and everything like that.
Yeah.
There are 6 people in the room with Jake. He guesses he is looking at the Grey's High Command. None of them are young, but they're all still in their prime.
Yeah.
And a bunker I expect, and this part, this is what caught me off. A bunker I expected, but something that looks like a missile silo looking room is not what came to mind whenever I come back to this scene. Whenever I come through here and we get to this room again, I'm just like, wait, we're in like a missile silo, like a big round silo, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
It makes total sense for this world, though.
I mean, a missile. Well, if it's an actual missile silo, it is, but it doesn't sound like it is. It sounds like it's an actual bunker.
Yeah.
Which we get into a little bit later. So it's just weird. Like ventilators. Like you wouldn't have ventilators in a missile silo. What do you need airflow for? You know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It just reminds Jake of a missile silo. I
Yeah.
actually had to go back and reread that because I'm like, this is weird for a missile silo when we get down into like the details here. But it's just it's just a big round room, basically, and it's tall, too.
Yeah.
So, interesting room.
Yeah, indeed. Also, one of my notes I love is we have one line here that says, rugs are from the barony called Cashman, which I think is some really cool world building. This could have been nothing more than a throwaway line, but to throw that in there, just not that we're getting a lot of detail on it, but we're not going like Tolkien and going 3 pages to explain said barony.
Now it's 3 chapters on Cashman.
Yeah, nothing like that, but it is just kind of a cool thing where it's like, I don't know, just adding King to add some of the zooming in on some of these things and giving us some world building to it.
Right.
Doesn't really necessarily explain a ton, but it just makes the world feel richer.
It's what we've talked about before with King with his world building is it's not necessarily that he does like you just said with Tolkien where it's like, and then there was Tad and it's like, okay, let's go talk about Tad for 3 pages and explain who he's the son of, who he's the son of, and who he's the son of, and everything that Tad's ever done in his life was struck down by an arrow. Like, why did you need to do that? But no, King drops these morsels in, and it's what I think of is just like he's adding the spice already to a made dish.
Yeah.
Like me and you are both at this point, we're so into the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
We're so...
Is anyone not, I wonder?
When they get here, I don't know how you couldn't be.
Yeah.
But this is like a full meal and everything like that. And then this is just that little garnish on the top that he keeps sprinkling in for us throughout this book, where it's just little things.
Yeah.
Oh, it came from the barony of Cashman. It's like,
But it's cool because then if there's someone that isn't into world building the same way I am, like he's not boring those people.
Exactly.
He's just throwing a little bit into someone that may not be into it as much could just pass over and whatever. They don't even maybe even register it. But for someone like me, I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yay.
I wonder what that means.
I want more about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. It leaves you wanting it just a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly, which is fine. Then my next note here, interesting that they're looking at Jake with as much curiosity as he is looking at them with. I guess it gives us the idea that they either don't get many prisoners or that Jake is wholly unique from anyone that they've ever seen before, which I think either of those could be true.
That's very interesting, especially since your note brings up a memory from a previous chapter, is that Aunt Talitha told Roland they'll want the boy.
Yeah.
And so here we're seeing that personified.
But I think the fact that it's curiosity,
not like
lust or like just there's other things they could have put there. But the fact that it's like curiosity makes me think like, okay, is it because Jake is so rare because he looks like a New Yorker still? Is it because he is so young and like not diseased and like we've seen kind of what Gasher looks like and everyone that the Deans ran into. Now maybe Eddie, or Jake himself hasn't seen those people, but we as readers have a pretty good idea what the city looks like, and Jake would kind of stick out of that.
It's not the most hygienic of cities right now.
Yeah, so it's just interesting that they're curious about him. I don't know. I guess I would have expected indifference or whatever, just like whatever.
Maybe like excitement if they were looking for like a reward or something like that. Like oh yes, this is what we were looking for. Like if they're, heaven forbid, cannibals, they're going to be looking at him.
They're shaking and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. But yeah,
but it's curiosity. That is an interesting.
The fact that it's curiosity is just like, oh, okay, or just indifference of like, oh, cool, another prisoner. Like I think of like the people at the beginning of the new Mad Max movie. I mean, new, that's a relative term. The newest of the Mad Max movies. Like, the way they treat Mad Max, like, there's not, like, he's not seen as special. There's all kinds of prisoners, and it's like, oh, cool, like, he's this kind of blood type, so he's a blood bag. Like, it feels very, like, I don't know, like, it's all, routine. Like, it's routine, it's shit they do all the time, but the fact that there's a curiosity makes me wonder, like, what is...
Okay, so that's not normal for them.
Yeah, this isn't normal for them. So it's like, do they just get so few prisoners? Do they care about prisoners, I wonder? Is it like the pubes are so whatever, they're just fine with like killing them or whatever, and they don't really take them prisoner, that maybe the prisoner thinks... I don't know. It's just, it brings up a lot of questions in my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And in the center of this room is sitting in a chair, is big enough to be a throne. The chair is big enough to be a throne, is a massive man. And it's a cross, how King describes it, as a cross between a Viking and a giant from a child's fairy tale is sitting there. He has no shirt on, but a knife and a scabbard around his shoulder, and a machine gun slung over the throne. He has a necklace around his neck, and Jake looks closer and sees it as a coffin-shaped glass box hung on a silver chain. Inside it, a tiny gold clock face marks the time at 3:05. Below the tiny face is a tiny pendulum that went back and forth despite the air circulating around the room. Jake can hear the tick-tock sound. He also notices that it is moving way fast, moving way fast, like ticking too fast, like it's not 1 second. But then also the time is running backwards. So I remember Jake's watch, so my note here is, are all timekeepers messed up in this world? Like, is time just screwed?
Yeah.
Like, way up in this world? Like, we haven't had an example now of anything besides Jake's watch until we see this necklace.
That's true, yeah.
So everything is just messed up time-wise.
And Roland wasn't even interested in Jake's watch at all, remember?
Yeah, where it was like ticking backwards and everything like that.
Roland didn't care. He didn't even like give him the cursory like, oh, yes, you're interested in this. And like Roland was like, no, just not interested, move on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe this world is just, I don't know, so strange that, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just an interesting thing for me. Maybe it's a subtle way of King kind of world building, is that time really has no meaning in this world.
Yeah, and we did get that in book 1, right?
Yeah,
talking about how time is strange and elastic and stuff. So I think to Jake, right? That's probably when Roland would have explained that in book 1.
Yeah, because Jake's like, I don't know how long I've been here. I think you're right. It's at the way station when they're talking about how long since Jake came.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
time's a very stable thing for us in our world.
Right.
For us in our world, time's a very stable thing that you can always rely on, one way or the other. But yeah, this world, not so much. Oh no, it's Brown.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so Jake doesn't know, but that could just be his disorientation. He's also a kid.
Right.
But Brown talks about time's funny.
That's true.
Yeah,
He
he's like,
does.
it's like it may have been a couple weeks, it may have been a couple months. Like I don't know.
Oh yeah, because
Time-
he's asking
time-
how long since the Man in Black came through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And he talked about like how many times the Bean Man had come by. Like yeah, so this world is definitely not a one worried about time necessarily because
Right.
I don't think I don't think time's very fluid. Kind of like was it Infinity War? There's like the one planet where like it's off its axis and stuff. So like all this shit's just all weird. I feel like it's that way except time you can't really see. So it's just like yeah.
Unless you have a watch, which
Yeah.
why would anyone make a watch if it's
Yeah.
all messed up? So
Yeah, we haven't seen a Big Ben necessarily.
No.
So not that I'm glad because I don't think it would be any good.
no.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just my prejudice, but a Viking/giant doesn't exactly instill me with warm, fuzzy feelings that Jake's in a safe place.
Yeah.
It's not saying a dapper gentleman, or a
Jeezy like Butler.
or a warm, kindly old man.
Yeah.
It's not giving me like the
A Santa Claus type.
Santa Claus, the Dumbledore, the Gandalf, kind of feelings. It's just giving me a oh shit kind
Yeah.
of feeling,
You know who I've always pictured with this character when I'm reading it?
Who?
Devil's Rejects, the brother in Devil's Rejects.
Okay.
He has like the gray black or the grayish white hair. And
Yeah.
it's long. He doesn't wear a shirt through a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
Specifically in Devil's Rejects. Like literally that's who I've always pictured actor wise in this role. I know he's big, but I don't know. That's
Do
just
you
who I've-
remember the
that's just who I've
movie?
always pictured.
Do you remember the movie Troy?
Oh no, not
No.
really. No.
There's a scene in the beginning of Troy where Achilles kills a fighter from the other side. They do a 1v1 to decide the battle instead of
Yeah.
that dude was like I think he was like a UFC fighter or a professional wrestler. That's what comes to my mind. It's just
Yeah.
Giant freaking muscular dude
Yeah.
and everything.
Or like the
flowing hair and
Just
everything.
put a Targaryen wig on the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, the mountain has like that world's strongest body build. I'm picturing someone like more cut, like Arnold, kind of in his prime.
Yeah.
That not that world's strongest man where he looks like he got a little bit of a punch, but it's all muscle kind
Yeah.
of thing. There's the different physiques there. I just picture like a giant, huge, again, Viking and giant. It doesn't fill me with warm, fuzzy feelings that Jake's in a safe space.
I guess we can always look at Mr. Skarsgård in the I just blanked on the name of the movie. Is it The Northman, the Viking one?
Oh yeah. You told me I need to watch that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And he roided himself up, man.
Oh, does he?
Dude, compared to what we saw him as Flag in the stand, like he was just a very slight, thin built. And dude, I was like shocked when I saw him. Like, what the fuck, dude? It's like he put,
That's Skarsgård?
yeah, he probably put like 70 pounds or more on of muscle. So, yeah, he's all huge in that. All right, and then my note here, all things told, this man very much has the vibes of a warlord for me. In my mind, with a throne, the weapons all around him, he feels like, if trouble comes, he's not fleeing and letting other people fight for him.
He's gonna stand up, pick up a weapon, and kick your ass.
Exactly, and that puts a certain kind of flavor on him, right? Because there is those different kinds, of villains. Some you'll see him run away and then throw an army in, like the Bond villain type thing, versus the ones.
Taking it back to Game of Thrones, it's like Joffrey is the kind of guy who's like, protect me, Kingsguard.
Yeah.
Whereas, like Jon Snow is, what's that? Let's go.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. It's a subtle thing, but with all the weapons around him, that's kind of the read I get on him.
Yeah.
Which makes me think again, if or when Roland gets inside this room, my thought process is you're not going to see this guy run away and let the other 5 people fight Roland.
He's going to step up.
He's going to be.
He's already
stepping up.
given you that vibe already with
Yes.
what we see around him.
Yeah.
Knife on the shoulder,
Machine guns on the
machine
back
gun
of
on
the
the back
throne.
of the throne.
Like-
no shirt on to show off his physique and everything like that.
Yeah.
Leg casually. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention in my note. His legs just casually thrown over the side of the throne. That just gives off like, Wedge, bring me a ale, kind of thing, like
Yeah.
not exactly like nobility sitting up straight and everything like that,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a troubling character so far.
So far, and we're barely getting introduced to him. Let's see what happens.
It's first impressions, though.
It does. So Jake is thinking about the necklace with the timekeeping and everything like that, and he thinks of the croc in Peter Pan, and he smiles. Gasher sees him smiling and goes to hit him. I really hate Gasher. Just because he smiles, he has to hit him. Like, really?
I love your anger.
Yeah.
At this, it brings warm feelings to my heart. Just how angry you get. I know you're gonna, and I knew it when I was reading this. I'm like, Peter's gonna get so worked up about this stuff. I just know it. It cracks me up. And you're not wrong. It does. It cracks me up.
You just like to see me get riled up. So we know that this is the Tick-Tock Man. Gasher's been talking about him like nonstop. So the Tick-Tock Man stops Gasher. Hooray! No more abuse for Jake for now. Jake sees that Gasher, like himself and all the others, can't stop looking at Tick-Tock for long, so they look away, but all of them are diverted back to him. Gasher says that Jake is wary pert. I made sure to put it wary. That's how it's put in the book. Not very, but wary. And needs a deal of training, in his opinion. Tick-Tock tells Gasher that if he wants his opinion, he'll ask for it and to close the door. Was he raised in a barn? A woman laughs shrilly at this, and Tick-Tock glares at her, and she instantly quiets. So at least Tick-Tock stopped that ash at Gasher from hitting Jake again. That's just, thank God.
Yeah.
One
thing I didn't put a note down, but when it says that others can't stop looking at him for long, that tells me one of two things. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe this kind of goes into my note a bit. But there's either like a magnetism, like a charisma to him, or the other side of the coin is he's so unpredictable that you're always keeping your eye on him.
They're like the dogs that are always going to keep their eyes. They're skittish and
watching
like
to see like, are they going to get hit? We don't know yet, but like that's to me, everyone just not being able to keep their eyes off of him for long. It's one of those two things.
Yeah,
he's either charismatic as fuck, or people know that like he can go off at any second, and they don't want that. They don't want to get hit in the side of the head.
Right?
They'd rather at least be looking and be able to brace.
See it coming.
It's one of those two things in my mind. But yeah, that's one that kind of jumps out at me as you're talking about that, where people can't stop looking at him. It's like that can tell us one of two things. We'll have to clock that. And
and like your note about magnetism, it just reminds me. I just read that book, Helter Skelter, you turned me on to a little bit ago, about the Manson family, and that's what Charlie was always described as. It's like he had this magnetism that you couldn't take your eyes off him.
Yeah,
people would come to the complex to try to talk him out of things, and he would just start talking, and they was they would listen.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston ran into Manson. He told that story, and
did he really?
He said the same thing. He was like out horseback riding with a friend, and came across some hippie-like guy that he just couldn't take his eyes off of. Mm-hmm. And then after everything happened much later, he saw a picture of Manson and realized, like, oh shit, that was Charles Manson.
That was him.
That's the guy. And he was like a kid. I think he was a teenager, 14 or so when it happened. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jake here also makes sense that Jake's kind of enthralled. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. If you're 12 or 11 or 12 and you're shoved into a room with a Viking/giant, you'd kind of be like, what?
Yeah, and Mike, thank you. It's Otis Driftwood is the name of the character in Devil's Rejects that I've always pictured.
Otis,
yeah. But the craziest thing in the world, though, is look up that movie on IMDb and click on his actor and look at his actor picture on IMDb.
Doesn't look anything like it.
Dude, it disturbed me the first time.
There's a lot of people in Rob Zombie stuff like that.
The first time I ever did that, I was disturbed. I'm like, it can't be him. This has got to be a mistake.
That's physically like how I am with Colin Farrell playing the Penguin.
Yes.
Where I'm just like, I flat refuse it. And Hayden's like, no, dude, like, really? I'm like, no, I know.
Yeah, but
I refuse to believe it.
Yeah.
Even though I watched the behind the scenes of it, and I no.
Yeah.
No. So the door Gasher brought him through is actually two doors, reminding Jake of a good sci-fi movie. Gasher shuts them both and gives Tick-Tock a thumbs up. Tick-Tock has a button on what looks like a speaker podium, and a pump begins to cycle. All the neon tube lighting in the room dims perceptibly. This is definitely a bomb shelter of some sort. When the pump is done, the neon lights resume their muted brilliance. And I just remember being so upset seeing what type of doors Roland has to get through, because, I mean, he's got a 6-shooter. Like, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he's getting through this. And I just think of this as, like the game that I really like to play. I keep talking to you about it, 7 Days to Die. Literally has it where you can upgrade your door to a vault door. And it has the wheel on it to turn. And when it locks, it, like, and, like, makes that. I'm just picturing that in my head, and there's
Yeah.
2 of them
Yeah.
with space in between. So it's just like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Also,
Which is clear. That's like kind of, you see that in like containment things for
Yeah.
diseases. You have those what do you call them, like decontamination areas,
decontamination
you know?
chambers, yeah.
Or in space you'll see it where it's like the decompression
The
room.
pressure. That's what Jake was saying, is that he reminded him of good sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Not bad
But-
ones where it's straight in,
Try
straight
to
out.
remember exactly what year Jake came from. Trying to think.
70.
He was in the 70s, but I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what year of the 70s, because good sci-fi can mean a number of different things in that era.
This is true.
Versus Eddie would have a much different perception of what good sci-fi
Oh, yeah.
is. So I'm a nerd. I love looking at those kind of
Yeah.
things, but yeah. But that's what I thought of as like, okay, like the decontamination
Mm-hmm.
zone or whatever, which again makes it tougher because Roland, even if you were to get through one, there's a second one he's got to get through.
Yeah,
So,
and that's one of those things, like you break down the door and then you're just like, I got to do it again. Also, they'd probably hear you coming too.
yeah, exactly.
So, but that you take me a perfect segue right into my note. That's actually very advanced technology for what we've seen so far in Roland's world.
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in this city that has just been like, well, wait a minute.
Seems hundreds of years advanced to most of
Everything else we've seen
most
in
of
Roland's
everything
world.
else we've seen. Yeah,
I mean, we go back to Tull and there's mules and horses carrying people to and fro, but most people walk.
yeah.
We have someone.
There's like dilapidated
Yeah.
gas pumps at certain points, but
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
gas pumps also go back to the early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not as prevalent as they would be in like our day.
I mean, we
but
have
they were
we have
around.
abandoned gas pumps in our world
Yeah,
right now.
Exactly.
Like here we are in 2022. We have gas pumps that were abandoned. And there's towns that are ghost towns now that there's a gas station at. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just to see like. No, well, also on top of it, I guess I didn't even take this in my note, but not only see the advanced technology, but also see it working.
Yeah, it's
He
working.
uses that speaker podium button to close it.
But I would say barely working. The fact that the lights dim.
Exactly.
Because I remember when I was a really young kid, my grandpa had a little Honda, a little piece
Mm-hmm.
of crap car. But it had automatic windows. It was one of the first cars I ever had as a kid that I would experience.
Sure.
It had automatic windows. And one thing I remember is even if it was rolled up, I'd push the up on it. And my grandpa would get mad at me. And I'm like, how the hell does he know? I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Yes, I can. I can see the battery thing. And it was the battery gauge on the thing would literally jump a little bit
Really?
when I push the button. Because, I mean, this car is so small. The
Yeah.
battery's small. It takes very little to actually engage that. And it's like one of those things when you're drawing too much power, like other things will start to like fade, and that's why I get the sense of it, dude. I am not a claustrophobic person, but I'd be a little bit freaked out when I saw those lights dimming as it was like locking and unlocking, because it's like at any given
Yeah.
time that could just give out, and if you're on the wrong side or on the inside of it, you're stuck there. Like that's a tomb now.
Well, I mean, there was another door leading off, remember? But if that door was shut and locked as well, then it's, good luck breaking out of both those doors like we just talked about.
exactly.
And it would be in the dark if the power went out.
Yeah, that would not be fun.
Not safe.
Also, I said definitely an interesting, my note here, interesting in the location of this button that likely locks as well as unlocks the door. It just, I don't know, on a little podium thing, like that just, it seems to me to be like on the side of the throne, just like a button right there.
Like right there on the armrest. and
Yeah, the
everything.
fact that it's like on a podium, like
Like
it's just,
it describes it as a speaker podium, and it wasn't until like I did my notes for like summarizing the sections, then I went back and did my notes for what I wanted to talk about. I'm like speaker podium, like what am I thinking about? And then I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of like a wooden lectern is what I'm.
yeah.
Not a speaker like a rock star band.
Yeah.
Rock band has a speaker, so I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. That is different than so now it's like a control panel on a lectern next to his chair. So
Yeah.
even like obviously not what this room was intended for, right? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't
no.
seem like that's what it is.
No, definitely not. Also, I can't wait to see this room on screen.
Oh, right.
Just with all the colors of the different neon
Yeah.
lights and stuff. Like this is a very, like I think this is like a set designer's wet dream, the way that King writes this room. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get to a spot where we can actually see this on screen.
Oh, I hope so.
What do you got next?
So Gasher says that he brought Jake just like he said he would. Tick-Tock says that he had his doubts about Gasher, especially remembering the password at the end, which just kind of, he didn't remember. Got to remember that.
Yeah.
He didn't remember. And then the woman laughs shrilly again. Tick-Tock Man half turns in her direction, and before Jake realizes what is happening, or already happened. King specifically puts that in there. Jake, before what Jake realizes what is happening actually already happened, there's a knife sticking out of her chest. Tick-Tock made a motion that Jake doesn't think Roland could match, like his speed, pulling the knife from its scabbard around his chest and throwing it before Jake could even register he had moved. The woman stumbles around, drops dead, propped against the wall, looking to Jake like a Mexican taking a siesta, which is an image in and of itself.
Yeah.
But that's a quick movement there.
Yeah. So my first note here, question I have is they're talking like they knew that he was coming. And that they had clocked Jake as one that they wanted, and it appears Gasher told Tick-Tock that he could get him, right? Like, there's some of the dialogue. What we're hearing, there's another side of this conversation, because, like, Gasher, I told you I could do it, whatever. So it's like, so he's trying to convince Tick-Tock that I'm the one for the job and stuff.
Yeah.
So did they see them approaching the city?
Had to have.
Far before the bridge? They had to have. Because how much time did it take Tick-Tock, I'm Gasher, damn near in a sprint the whole way to get from the bridge where we're at?
I think at one point it says they've been running for over an hour.
Yeah, so it's like, imagine having to run and also go up instead of down in certain areas. So it's going to take longer for him to then be at that bridge at that moment to take advantage of them. It just seems to me they saw them coming from a ways, and I don't know where, when, how, like what technology they might have. But yeah, because it would have taken Gasher some time to get there to get a jump on them. It seems like there's a lot of knowledge with these folks, and I don't know if I've ever really thought about that part of it before. I think I've read this I don't know how many times now, but I don't think it's ever sunk in that same way where it's like, wait a minute. The other half of this conversation that we haven't seen would have to be him like pleading like, hey, I'm the guy, send me, I'll get it for you. But that means they have foreknowledge that they're coming. And they want Jake. So very weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes you wonder how they knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have cameras? Do they have?
We know they do because the one's not working at the door, but doesn't mean they wouldn't
true.
have cameras elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder how far were they clocking?
That's true.
The gunslingers
What,
approaching.
They just see them on like getting ready to cross the bridge and everything like that? Gasher wouldn't have had time to get up.
No
there.
way. He wouldn't have had time. They
unless he had a different path up than bringing Jake down.
Maybe it's crazy. I've never had that thought before until now. But yeah, it just makes me wonder. Like, damn,
this is why we're doing the book clubs.
Yeah.
Stuff like this that's been missed the 7 or 8 times we've read through it each.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I think this is a perfect setup by King. How do you establish a giant Viking as a threat to a man with a gun? Make him faster. You make him faster than Roland, and all of a sudden that's a danger.
Can you imagine how like eerie that would be? Because seeing someone that fast anyway, but then imagine someone that fast that's that size.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you hear about with like wrestlers have said it, sports people have said it, fighters have said it, where it's just like it's not right for someone that big to move that fast, and that's what we have here.
And I think it would almost make you feel like some kind of reality's not there, right? It would like disorient you almost, like to have that kind of speed. Because if it was like a smaller person, I think it'd be fine. Like small, speedy, like that's like normal.
It goes hand in hand.
But huge and speedy, like that just my brain. It's hard to even compute that. Yeah. So I bet you that'd be disorienting for people that face down Mr. Tick-Tock.
Exactly, and so that leads me into my next note. Is that I have a question for you? Is that did this make you nervous for Roland here? My first time through, I'm scared for Jake. Terrified for him, like, oh God, what's going to happen with this Viking giant who's wicked fast and everything like that.
The other thing I'm going to point out too is kind of an answer to your question. In Roland's world, have we seen a machine gun before? We saw them in Balazar's place because Roland kind of talked shit on like, you can't, these people can't control these weapons.
So he knows about them.
They exist, but as
we
rare as guns have been
one
in this world, we haven't seen one in this world. And I kind of have a feeling that Tick-Tock Man might have much better control than one of Balazar's goons with a machine gun. So I'm nervous for Roland, both knife throwing that faster than seemingly perceptible, as well as potentially our first machine gun that we've seen in this world by a man that I'm not going to doubt. Because I mean, like we all get it. Even if you've just played Call of Duty and stuff, they always program them to where it's like the gun will kick its way up and it rises or whatever. But a guy this big, do you think that
they're
he's not
strong enough to hold it down?
Exactly. So I'm a little nervous.
Okay,
I'm a little nervous for him here. It seems like King's building quite the showdown
Exactly.
character
That's one of the notes I have. I think I have it a little bit later. It's just like, man, this is a good way of showing like just how formidable Tick-Tock is through subtle little things.
Yeah.
That you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because if he could throw that knife that fast, how fast do you think he can draw up and rack that machine gun?
Or if he even has it ready.
If he needs to.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm saying is what if he just has it ready to go? Because he doesn't exactly give off the vibe of a person who takes many, like, safety things, you know?
Yeah.
He just threw a knife into a woman's chest.
Yeah. I do remember being relieved, you know, because
Yeah.
Jake says we had 6 people in here. Well, now we only have 5. So only 5 that Roland has to take care of. Thank you, Tick-Tock. Keep going.
Yeah, just keep it up. Keep it up.
Keep going here. Let's make it a little easier on Roland here. I just remember clocking that because I was just like, okay, 6 people. All right, keep that in my mind.
1 down.
And then he kills it. I'm like, fuck yeah, there's only 5 left. Like,
Let's go.
Yeah, just keep going, man. Because again, this is gonna be tough. You know, 6. That's 1 revolver.
1 shot each.
Yeah, exactly. So and
without having to reload.
and he only has 1.
Yeah, the other gun's with Eddie and Susanna.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Thank you, Tick-Tock. Good.
Now he has 2 shots.
Yeah. Good man. Yeah, exactly. Now he has
For
2
one of
shots
them.
for one of you guys.
Yeah. So Tick-Tock says that he warned her about that laugh. He tells a man named Brandon to bring him the knife, but mind that he wipes that slut stink off before putting it in his hand. When Brandon tries to pull the knife free, it seems to be caught in the woman's breastbone. Okay. Another thing.
That's grisly.
Yeah, that's it. Well, not only grisly, but then again, this is what I was talking about with King. He just keeps building up Tick-Tock as a formidable foe. To throw it that hard but still be that fast. Definitely feeling that Tick-Tock is going to be a formidable opponent for Roland. This is what I was talking about, is that King is subtly building up this guy to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, he moves so fast that Jake can't even register that he's moved. Doesn't register. I mean, like
He's not just a tall guy.
Yeah.
A person from tall. I think that's what we're getting at ultimately is what King's building us to understand. It's like this isn't going to be like tall where Roland could just walk into this and it's going to be easy breezy, cut through everyone in 5 seconds and then we're done. Like,
yeah.
No, he's building this up to where it's like, have we had anyone built to this level
No.
in this story so
Man
far?
in Black is mysterious and everything like that, but is he actual a formidable opponent?
Bringing people
for
back
Roland?
from the dead and stuff. Yeah, you get some mysticism and stuff that makes you probably nervous. But I don't know if that's the same kind of...
like an actual throwdown fight.
Yeah. I don't know if we've...
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we've had some danger. I mean, of course, like the house monster is very dangerous for Jake and
Shardik.
stuff, and Shardik. But, yeah, I feel like this is the first time that we've
A human.
really built someone.
Another person, another
Yeah.
character like that is they're going to go toe-to-toe. Let's see what this fight turns out, right? And then you had a note here, right?
Yeah,
but
just
kind of similar to what we
what we
just talked about
yeah.
with the machine gun and everything. So
Yeah, he's very formidable, and I'm... King's doing a good job of slowly turning that up a little bit.
That's a great way of putting it. King is just taking it. Jake gets thrown into this room. We're at a 2. Man, that's a big guy. 3. That's a big guy who moves fast. 4. And he throws hard enough to get a knife stuck in a breastbone. 7. Like he just keeps dialing up the intensity on this guy.
Yeah.
So Tick-Tock then bids Jake to come forward. Gasher shoves him forward. God, I hate Gasher so much. Jake would have fallen if Tick-Tock hadn't caught him. He raises Jake's left wrist and asks him about his signal there. Jake says it's a watch, but it doesn't work. Another man named Hoots chuckled and Tick-Tock looked at him for a moment with a frown, which, just imagine that on screen, right? You just see this man murder a woman for laughing.
For nothing.
Laughing.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
no reason at all.
And then here, the guy named Hoots chuckles, and Tick-Tock looks at him. Just, to be that guy, just no thank you.
It reminds me of the that little guy in the little Jesus truck in Terminator 2 when he's like, "Are you guys okay?" And then Arnold looks at him and his face is all mangled and
He's
shit.
just like, nope, and he just pieces out and
Exactly.
takes off running.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
And it's not like this guy can go anywhere.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So when he looks back at Jake, a sunny smile has replaced the frown. The smile made you forget that there was a dead woman against one wall. Also made you almost forget they were all crazy, and that Tick-Tock is the craziest of them all. Just tick that up with just another notch. Tick-Tock says watch is a good name for something that is supposed to tell time because you watch the time. He asks his subjects if they all agree, and they all respond with eager affirmatives. So again, this goes back to like what you were saying with him. It's like maybe this is a little bit of like they don't want to take their eye off him. Like oh yes sir, yes sir, yeah, yes,
Exactly.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Tick-Tock smiles at them and then turns his attention back to Jake. It was here that Jake notices that the smile doesn't reach Tick-Tock's eyes. His eyes were as they had been throughout, cool, cruel, and curious. Which, my notes here, I'm going to switch my note positions. I always loved the way they describe someone where the smile doesn't reach their eyes.
Yeah.
It's a great way to tell that someone is
like
cunning,
sociopathic,
or something is
or
going on.
Putting on a face. You know,
Exactly.
it's not real.
It's there's a show where it's like, okay, you can go, and he's like, what? Yeah, go ahead, go. One little thing first.
Flag.
Oh, it is flag. Yeah, it's the stand. Yeah, you can go. Gas up her motorcycle. We'll let her go. Just one last thing. Give me the third spy's name. It's so evil.
I don't know about evil.
It's so evil, but yeah.
How dare you forget my boy's name?
Dude, that is exactly what I was thinking of. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely you could go. Go ahead and get their ride ready and everything like that.
And Jamie Sheridan plays that.
Oh, and he does it so well.
Brilliantly.
Yeah.
And he actually pulls that off too, because there's points when he is smiling and it's very, it is his whole face, it seems. But then he shifts it to where he's still smiling, but his eyes just change.
And you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
No. It's one of those things where, have you ever done that with a picture? Cover the smile.
Yeah.
And then look at the eyes and just see it. I did it one time with an ex-girlfriend's, one of those Cosmopolitan magazines and everything like that. I covered the model's mouth and I just looked at her eyes. Dead eyes, dude.
Yeah.
Just like, you can see, dude. Like, it was just like, it was kind of like an eye-opening experience, and it kind of plays into this.
The blackest eyes.
The devil's eyes. The devil's eyes. Speaking of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But this, to my other note, dude, TikTok is making me terrified now for Jake. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I said, we're just cranking that dial up with King here.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you got?
You can just tell as much by the way the rest of the goons act towards TikTok that he's a bully and will beat or kill them for no reason at all. I mean, aside from the dead woman who died for nothing, but it's also good to show that that was not just some wild outburst. This is who he is, right? Okay, yeah, you have the way that none of them can not look at him, and then the way they're all agreeing with him. This is the point for me where I'm like, I'm 100% sold. Like that was not just some fluke of it was the bad day, the wrong time for that person to laugh. No, that's who he is. And
this has happened before.
Yeah, the way you watch a dog that has bit. You know, like you look at a dog a certain way. That's the way they're all looking at him, because he is a fucking psycho.
People who are in an abusive relationship look at their partners that way.
Yeah.
You know, that, they've done this before, I need to be careful.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. What is it? In Breaking Bad, rabid dog is the term that's used.
Yep.
You know, and like you treat an animal like that a certain way because you just don't know.
And you treat certain people that are dangerous that way.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And that's the way they're treating him. So I think for me, I've seen enough now to know that like that's who this person is.
Yeah.
Like he is a hair trigger fucking psychopath.
And King does that within the first few paragraphs of this subchapter, building him up. We've never seen him before.
No.
And just already
heard his name referenced a couple times, and that's it.
So going on, TikTok asks if the watch is booby trapped. Jake assures him that it isn't, and he touches it himself. TikTok says that means nothing, and it could be that it's set to his body's frequency. He threatens Jake that if it gives him a shock, he will be choked to death with his own sweetmeats in 30 seconds. That's an image for you. TikTok touches the watch, and he isn't shocked, but all the numbers went to zeros and then begin to count upward again.
Because his was counting backwards.
Jake's was counting backwards before, but now it's reset to 0, and it's counting up like a stopwatch.
Yeah.
Interesting. TikTok's eyes had narrowed, bracing for pain, and when it didn't shock him, the corners crinkled in the first genuine smile Jake had seen from him.
So see, that's where it actually gets to the eyes now. So the smile moves up a bit. And
it's not people, it's a watch that did it for him.
Yeah.
Interesting bits here. Body frequency. The watch resets to 0 and starts counting upwards. Why is TikTok so fascinated by a watch?
We also got to notice the fact that watch is not a term they use.
Yeah.
That's
true. He did point out that it's like, that's a good name for it.
Yeah.
Calls it a sigil.
Yeah.
And everything. Sigil.
Yeah.
And everything. The technology isn't like showing it. Him showing the technology isn't like showing it to a caveman. I just wanted to show it that note, because it's like, if you show a caveman, you get the typical like maybe they'll,
like superstitious fear or whatever.
Like maybe they'll touch it, something like that. No, he's fascinated by it. He's drawn to it. It's like if someone brought you a a ray gun from the year 3500 or something, Tad would be like, "Ooh, what do we have here, lovely? And let me play with this, kind of thing."
Probably vaporize myself, but yes, I'd be playing. It's just like a lightsaber, right?
Cut your lip. I was exactly what I was thinking about. But we know it's not the technology, right? Because he has electricity. He has a pressurized door, after all.
Yeah.
So we know that it's not that.
Intercom system. I mean,
yeah.
There's a number of things here that are
but
very modern.
He talks about something being attuned to someone's body frequency.
Yeah, that's strange.
That is strange because that's not anything that we have.
No.
I could take my wife's Fitbit and put it on and it reads my heart rate.
That reminds me of The Flash. In The Flash, they talk about body frequencies because he'll change his frequency of the speed of his body to pass through things or whatever. So that's like some sci-fi shit. That's not normal.
That one just jumped out at me this time where he's like body frequency, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's odd.
So, now this world has blown so far past our level of technology that we're lost.
I know, because it's so funny that if you go from pre-Lud, but right before they get to the bridge, all the way back to book 1, there's nothing that screams more advanced technology exists in this world past what we have on our planet here in 2022.
Well, Shardik is probably the only.
Well, Shardik's just a robot. I mean, it's just. I mean, I guess it does have.
Yeah,
it's a cyborg. We don't have a cyborg.
Yeah, think of the level of robots we've got now. They're not.
I guess that's true.
I
guess that's true.
But overall, yes, and that's still well within the realm of what we know from sci-fi. Robots aren't completely oh my god,
a cyborg. Yeah.
Boy, he's talking here that's what?
Wait, tune something that if someone, dude, that's something Batman would have.
Yeah.
Right? Batman would have that developed by like Superman or something like that from Krypton, and then he would wear it on his utility belt. That if someone tried to take off his utility belt or put it on, and it's not his body frequency, it would zap him.
Yeah.
Which Batman does have.
And then welcome, Cody. Cody just joined us.
Hi, Cody.
And then Carol also says, why would it reset? Yeah, that is very troubling to me. The fact that
is true.
It not only resets, but then starts it going the other direction. What the hell's up
before it was counting down for Jake. Now it's resetting, it's going up.
Yeah, what the hell's up with this guy?
Is it this guy, or is it just technology in this world?
I mean, you don't think Jake's touched it and it hasn't reset and gone the other direction?
Well, Jake touched it to show him that it wasn't
didn't do anything.
It didn't do anything.
It's not till he touches it.
Yeah.
Like I said, something's up here.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of shenanigans.
And then you got a note here, right?
Yeah, I remember being nervous that though it may not be designed to shock, that it might just randomly shock him.
Oh, yeah.
Because
did you clench up reading?
Yeah, I was just like, oh my god, he's threatening pretty horrible things here. What if this thing just has a short and it actually zaps him a little bit? Just because of it just made me think that with all of Gasher's treatment up to this point, which we've obviously been gritting our teeth about, makes me kind of almost wish for that a little bit now to go back to that because again, what if it did zap him? I don't think Jake's gonna survive long if it did. So I just remember being nervous because honestly, we put it past King as well to do that. Where it's just again, it's not made to booby trap and shock him, but it just shorts and shocks him. Wouldn't King do that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the kind of thing, especially to poor Jake. We already have seen
We've
King,
seen what he does to Jake.
Yeah, exactly. Jake is definitely King's Job.
Yeah, leave him alone. So Tick-Tock asks if he can have it, and Jake says, "Be my guest." Gasher speaks up and says, "See, he is a, quote, little silk arse gentleman," end quote, and goes on to say, "Back in the old days, someone would have paid a high price for him." Aha! You were just saying a little bit ago that their curiosity and stuff like that. Why are they looking at him like that and stuff like that? A high price, huh? Someone might have ransom on their mind is why they're looking at him that way and stuff like that. Maybe that's why they want him. And his father, and here Tick-Tock cuts him. So let me just back up a little bit. Gasher says back in the old days, someone would have paid a high price for him, and his father told him, and that's where Tick-Tock cuts him off and says, quote, "Your father died so blown out rotten with the mandress that not even dogs would eat him. Now shut up, idiot," end quote. So my note, in all caps, very big. Ha! Take that, Gasher. Stupid doo-doo head. But also,
I almost think we should, do a new ranking for you for most hated, just now that we're fresh in the Gasher stuff. Because I actually wonder, honestly, if Gasher might beat out other characters.
No.
your anger here has been.
We'll talk about it in the spoil section. Yeah.
His anger, the anger you've had towards him, you've been like seething in these episodes, man. Gasher is.
I'm gonna go put a note in the spoiler section while I cover this next part. And
I got. The
you got a note, but definitely we'll talk about that in the spoiler section because I don't want to spoil anything about those other characters. So.
And then my note here is I felt bad for Jake losing the watch here. He had so little that attached him to his former life and his parents. So to lose a piece of that very small collection just seems sad. Even if he didn't have much time to like really register that loss himself, I don't think he's thinking about it. But in my mind, I'm like, if he survives this, there's going to be a point that he looks back and goes, "Oh fuck, I lost that watch," and it's gonna be a downer for him. So I just remember feeling bad for him because what has he got? Like a small backpack with and some of it's filled with books that he just barely got. So it's like, what personal items does he have that attaches him to his old life? Like very little. And I bet you that watch is probably one of the crown jewels of that collection. So kind of felt bad for him there for losing the watch.
We actually even find out here in my next section that it was a birthday present from his parents as well. So just further digging in and adding some salt to that wound that you're talking about of souvenirs that we have from his ago life, in his New York life, is that it was a present. So
yeah, exactly.
So going on, Tick-Tock spends time examining the watch band, pulling it, letting it snap back. Then he slips it over his hand and pushes it halfway up his forearm. You ever done that with one of those watches that's like has the stretchy band?
Oh no, dude! It's gonna pull your arm hairs.
Push it. I did it as a kid where I didn't have arm hairs. I thought it was funny. Made me feel like oh yeah, I got one of those cool little wristbands up there, like the football players wear. Jake thinks the souvenir of New York looks very strange there, but didn't say anything. Probably didn't want to get smacked by Gasher again.
Yeah, or a knife thrown through him.
Tick-Tock asks where he got it. Jake tells him it was a birthday present from his parents. Tick-Tock is pushing the nightlight on the watch and casually asks him if it runs on dipolar or unipolar circuit. Jake says neither one. It runs on nickel cadmium battery. It also says this in the book, and I took a direct quote. Not knowing this, that his failure to say he didn't know that what either of those terms meant was buying him a great deal of future trouble. And my note here is just, oh no.
Yeah, indeed. King again with one of those future nuggets that he'll throw at you where it's just like, and this is the worst thing he could have possibly said. Now let's move on.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
or this was the last time he had all 10 fingers. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Or the famous one we always talk about, and it's the last time these two characters ever saw each other. It's like, King does that shit. It's like,
it's the last time he saw him alive.
Yeah, it's like, I'm only 2/3 through this book. Why are you telling me this now?
Yeah, and then he's great at hiding it.
Yeah,
instantly he does something that makes us forget it too, which happens in the next section here.
Exactly.
But I got another note here before your note. It says, I remember wanting to look up what those were the first time I read it, dipolar and unipolar. I had no clue what they were, either of them, but I resisted, so I didn't have anything spoiled for me. I always remember that being like, what's dipolar and unipolar?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. And
I don't even know if that's a real thing.
Yeah, so that's one of those things I was just like, I wonder if I should look that up. And then I was like, no, might spoil something. Let's not. So.
Yeah. Also in the chat, Cody said I was listening to the old episodes on my podcast app. Apparently, I'm an entire year behind. Just started the first episode of 2021.
Oh wow!
I mean, you've been with us live for a number of things, but yeah, I mean that's at the same time though. I will say, as a podcast listener, sometimes I love being behind on things a bit. Because
you go and look and you have 30 episodes to catch up on, and you're like,
yeah, exactly. I'm just like, thank God. And then when I get caught up on an episode that I like, especially when I jump into a new podcast and I binge through and it's just glorious, I can listen to 6 episodes in a day. And then when I finally get caught up and I'm just like, I have to wait a week or two for a new episode.
And I only get one?
Dude, it's the worst. Like, can you imagine?
You've told me you've done that before where you just like put podcasts on hold and just stack up.
I'm doing that on one right now, a podcast I enjoy. I'm just like, not listening to it for a minute because I need to build some up because I love just listening to a shitload of them at a time.
Yeah, get a couple of them going.
And then Carol said, I did the same thing when I found out this podcast years ago. I started at the beginning, enjoyed the ride. And you know what? That is actually not a rare thing. I don't look at our numbers very often because honestly, it isn't that important. Like I enjoy what we do. The numbers some people are so beholden to numbers in podcasting. I think they bum themselves out. But when I have gone through every once in a while to look just out of curiosity, our first couple episodes have some of our highest numbers
Listen counts.
because they're the oldest episodes, but also I really do think people are, because I'll still see it where it's just like you can look at like, oh, what are the monthly numbers, and I'll still see those first couple episodes, and I'm like, man, I guess people when they find it start at the very beginning, which makes me self-conscious because those early episodes sounded terrible.
I know. We literally had one mic. The two of us.
Early on we only had one mic, and I can't bring myself to go back to listen. I've even thought about going back and editing those first couple episodes to have an intro saying, hey, just so y'all know, this is going to sound better.
It gets better, I promise.
Because, like, yeah, I do. I'm slightly embarrassed by the old days when it comes to the sound quality, because I feel like we're doing a really good job now. But, yeah, back in the day, we were using one mic, and we were just, like, leaning in and leaning out when we were taking turns.
We literally had the mic sitting on a table between us, and one of us would lean in to talk, and then we would lean back.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like we obviously had it turned up really high, so a lot of room noise. Yeah, I was not a fan of how
we also didn't do live, so it'd be like I would lean in and I'd smack the table, and Tad'd be like, all right, hold on, and go and mark it and make a note like, okay, I got to edit that out. And Tad would spend hours afterwards going in and editing out, like he'd be talking like and he'd be like, oh, got to edit that out and everything. And just little taste of behind the scenes of what we used to be, and now we're live.
Live is it's the best,
and anything can happen at any time. Just people can just
and then Carol says, not sure when they were talking about having a price paid for Jake. They were talking about a ransom. It's that is kind of a weird thing too. That doesn't feel like that fits in our world or in this world that we're in.
Yeah,
ransoms like.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Like it just seems
there's hardly anyone in this world.
That seems like a very alien idea for sure.
Yeah.
Cody says, I assume dipolar and unipolar refers to AC and DC. Very well could be. That's true, but I don't think those are actual terms in our world necessarily. Like the unipolar dipolar thing. But yeah, if it's a AC DC equivalent, certainly. And then Cody says, so his answer should have been unipolar, referring to a DC battery. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If that's what it is, but yeah, poor Jake is just.
Well, yeah. Again, it just
right
goes back to what he didn't know, which actually leads us right into your note. It's a perfect segue into your note. What you had here.
Yeah. So much like Eddie and Susanna when we last left them, Jake is in a spot that where his words are very critical, but unlike the Deans, he doesn't seem to realize it.
Yeah.
Because the Deans kind of know that, like, they've been given enough backstory. They understand where they're at is a very, very, very dangerous spot.
Yeah.
And I think they're at least a little bit more aware of what they're saying than Jake is here. And it seems like King is telegraphing to us that Jake might come to regret.
Yeah.
He
did that. And that was last time he saw him alive. One of those moments for us is like, he's going to be in big trouble for saying that. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, very, very Kingian thing to do.
Do you think it's partly because Jake's younger than Eddie and Susanna?
Yeah, I don't think he has to think about it as much. Yeah. He also doesn't have as well.
I was going to say he has quite a bit of warning from Gasher talking about Tick-Tock.
No, but he doesn't have as much. I was going to say he doesn't have as much exposure to this world.
Oh, okay.
But maybe that's not true. If you count the book one stuff, maybe he's closer.
They're pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close in experience level. But either way, he's still a kid.
Yeah.
So that's really probably what it comes down to is he's a child. So
yeah.
It shouldn't be his place to have to think that the way that he has to think in this world.
Yeah, exactly. And so jumping back into this, I just want to reiterate that Tick-Tock just asked Jake if the watch runs on unipolar or dipolar. Jake says no, it's a nickel cadmium battery. And so Tick-Tock is staring at Jake. Jake realizes that Tick-Tock is trying to decide if Jake is making fun of him, and if he does, that's probably going to be really, really bad. He suddenly wants to divert his train of thought and so he asks Tick-Tock if he was his grandfather. Tick-Tock asks if who was his grandfather. Jake looks into his eyes, remembering what Susanna had said about how big he was, and said the man in the airplane, David Quick. Tick-Tock's eyes widen, and then he throws his head back and he laughs and says that Jake is the triggest cove he has seen for a long time, and that Quick was actually his great-grandfather, but he was pretty close. He says that he sees that what Gasher's talking about with him being pert, but they will take care of it. This whole time, he has been speaking to Gasher, but Jake realizes he isn't talking to him really. So Tick-Tock's been speaking to Gasher, saying like, oh, I see what you mean about this boy and everything like that. But really, Jake realizes that he isn't talking to Gasher. He's talking and he's trying to hypnotize Jake. and Jake has a horrifying thought that maybe it's working.
Yeah.
And so I just put my note, that's a happy thought. A giant Viking faster than Roland who can also hypnotize you. What next? Does he have like poison fangs or like can he shoot like icicles out of his fingers or something?
Maybe
or,
he
like,
has a killer claw.
a killer pinky. Yeah.
Mystery Men reference for anyone that's a fan of one of my favorite comic book movies.
Mystery Men.
Yes, Casanova Frankenstein. Yes.
And you got 2 notes here, right?
Yeah, so we also know that Jake is very easy to hypnotize.
Roland's surprised by how fast he goes under and everything like that.
Previously,
Yep.
yeah. So he's been hypnotized a few times by Roland. Also, doesn't it just feel like if someone's hypnotized once, like they're easier to hypnotize in the future? So I just think that Jake could probably fall into that. Also, I was just thinking to myself as you were reading that, the grandfather, great-grandfather stuff maybe shows more about the time thing, right? And also, it might be a little bit of a mistake, because should Jake think grandfather for World War II? Because when he's from the 70s, that's only 30 years ago. So in terms of like, we think of like World War II, our grandfathers, but with him living in the 70s, World War II was only, it was far less before. Like his dad could have potentially been a World War II person coming from the 70s. Like what I'm saying is King wrote this and like this one was written in the 90s. So I'm just wondering if like King's like conflating like generational things to the Nazi stuff.
What do you mean the Nazi thing?
Like when he says like, oh, the guy in the airplane's your grandfather. Like, but Jake's so much closer to World War II than we were that he probably should have thought like father even, because he's only 30 years removed from World War II. So like how we've always think of World War II is like kind of distant past.
Right.
Jake,
I understand what you're saying. I'm confused what the World War II has to do with the grandfather thing.
Because it's Nazi plane. I just feel like it's a normal thing for Jake to just clock like, oh, like World War II is 30 years ago.
I think the reason why Jake says grandfather is the time that the body had spent. It had mummified. Yeah. So I think that's why Jake is saying that.
That could be.
It's how what the condition of the body was inside the plane.
Yeah.
So and then also just remembering
Maybe.
how big the person was. Like, oh, relative.
Yeah.
Well,
but again,
probably not father if it had been sitting there for that long that it's starting to mummify. Grandfather.
Maybe.
So.
But but ultimately it does show time being different though. The fact that it is a great grandfather.
That is true.
Like that's Jesus Christ, how long ago did that happen then?
Yeah. That's true.
Again, it adds to that whole idea of wow. So then my next note here, so again with the Nazi plane, it makes me wonder, did Quick come from our world? Also, it makes sense that this plane was not just a one-off thing. And here it is paying off with the Descendant being in charge of the Greys. Like that wasn't just a one-off little thing that never pays off again. Like that plane, we're now seeing a descendant of that pilot. So it's like this is all coming back. Like we're getting. It wasn't just like I'm trying to think like the bees was like a one-off thing, right? Mm-hmm. You just see that and then you move. Well, they refer to it again a little bit later, but sometimes you just see these random things on these journey things where it's just like that was just its thing. But this is now paying off where it's like now you're getting the great grandson of that pilot. So I don't know. It's tying into
well. I think you're confusing things. I don't think Quick was the Nazi that flew the plane here. I think the Nazi plane came across, and then Quick and his men captured it.
Possibly.
And then Quick tried to fly it.
I don't know.
Because if you think about it, he didn't fit. I mean, if he's going to be the pilot for the Nazis, they're going to make a plane big enough for him to fit, or they're going to put him in a different role. He's not going to fly a plane that he doesn't fit in, unless it's taken from someone.
I don't know.
Which would make sense if we have other travelers from other worlds and everything. And there's a part in my section here that actually makes me think that what I'm saying is exactly what happened. Because, just to jump forward a little bit, Tick-Tock asked Jake what an American is.
Yeah.
So it makes me think that Tick-Tock's not descended from someone from our world. He's the leader of a gang that captured a Nazi pilot that came over, which is where they got all the stuff from. I mean, it's a machine gun, for crying out loud, is a Nazi machine gun.
Yeah.
So the pilot,
I don't know. There's a lot of questions involved, though.
No, it's the thing is it's not spelled out.
It's a mystery for sure.
Yeah.
It's intriguing to me. I don't know.
Yeah. So Jake feels like as if he's drowning in the wide green eyes of Tick-Tock, and he can't seem to get enough breath into his lungs. He summons all of his own force to try and break the hold, and says the first thing that comes to his mind. And it's, "So fell Lord Perth, and the countryside did shake with that thunder." It has an instant effect on Tick-Tock. He recoils as if slapped, and his grips on Jake's shoulders tighten painfully, and he asks what he said and where he had heard it. Jake says that a little bird told him. The next instant, Jake is flying across the room. He hits the curved wall hip first, thankfully, not head first, because he would be dead.
Yeah.
He lands hard and shakes his head groggily. He's on like all fours. Looks around and sees that he is face to face with the woman that Tick-Tock killed. And I didn't put this in here, but I am remembering this from reading it earlier. How King worded it is that he looked up and realized he was face to face with the woman that was not taking a siesta.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he cries out and tries to crawl away on his hands and knees, and Hoots kicks him in the chest, flipping him onto his back. That's a hard kick.
Yeah.
Right in the ribs, stomach kind of area.
And Jake's also small too.
And he's
a
boy.
The other thing I want to pause real quick because
Yeah.
I'll lose this thought.
Yeah.
Remember what he said about Mr. Quick in the plane. He said he was okay as long as it wasn't runny.
Yeah.
Well, the body he just was face to face with would have been very runny.
And a knife hole coming out of the chest bone would have been oozing.
Yeah, it would have been very gushy.
Very
so
runny.
It feels to me like that's a cool payoff to
Yeah.
like how, because like his reaction there. Again, he's also
That's true.
a fucking kid. He's 12 years old. But then on top of that, like he's already kind of conveyed the fact that he wouldn't be comfortable if it was like a gooey dead body. Well, there he was, inches from a body that was probably very wet with blood.
Yeah, exactly. So Jake's on his back now, lays there gasping for air, probably got the wind knocked out of him, or kicked out of him in this case.
Yeah.
And Tick-Tock's face fills his vision. He looks furious. Tick-Tock grabs him by the front of the shirt, pulls him up, and says that Gasher was right and Jake is pert, but he doesn't ever want to be pert with Tick-Tock, because unlike people with short fuses, he has no fuse, and to never speak of Lord Perth again. He says he will tear the top off of Jake's skull and eat his brains. He will have none of the bad luck story in the cradle of the Greys. He shakes Jake back and forth like a rag, asking if he understands him, and Jake bursts into tears. Holy crap. Like
Yeah,
that
so
went from 0 to 100 real quick.
So that proves kind of what my suspicions of and how they built is paid off here. Yeah, he doesn't have a fuse. Like he's legitimately, that's why everyone keeps looking at him. That's why, he killed that person. Like, yeah, this is who he is. This isn't him on a bad day. This is just this might even be a good day for him. So
yeah, for all we know, because he has company,
yeah, exactly.
I'll be on your best behavior because we have company. Woo!
Yeah.
Tossing people around the room. So they are superstitious and very mean is my note. I hate every single one of them, and I want Roland to gun them all down right now. Kicking a kid in the ribs, so like could you actually see yourself doing that? Like I can't picture a scenario where I'm going to kick a kid who's down on all fours as hard as I can in the ribs, where he flips over onto his back.
Yeah.
That's just, woo, man.
Yeah. And my note is adding to yours, also after yeeting him across the room with no concern for how he might possibly land, right?
There is no are you all right?
Because I feel like I'm seeing in my brain, like literally Jake's like a missile flying through the air. As he's
Luckily,
going,
he turns sideways and hits the wall.
Yeah, like I just like this isn't just like he gets tossed a little bit. Now this is like full. I mean, think about how big this guy is and how small Jake is. He's a small, probably regular sized 12-year-old kid. So, yeah, that's he's been through a lot here in the last couple of seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And then I took an interesting note that the Cradle of the Grace is capitalized here. So it's supposed to be an actual title for a place. It's not just something that they they call it. It's the Cradle of the Great. This is Tad's office. This actually is like an official title kind of feeling.
Yeah,
for me,
it's a proper noun.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like the Deans, Jake is also in a cradle of blood right now.
That's true.
Only this one houses Tick-Tock, whereas the Deans are in the cradle that houses Blaine. Different creatures, but similarities between the two so far.
This is true. You don't want to do the wrong thing and get electrocuted with Blaine. You don't want to do the wrong thing and get a knife thrown into your chest with Tick-Tock. That's actually a very interesting similarity. I never noticed that before.
Yeah, I don't think I had either, but yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah, no cradles in blood. Let's write that down in our notebooks here. Never find yourself in a cradle of blood.
Nope. Camp Crystal Lake, Haddonfield, Illinois on Halloween. In my dreams where Freddy's after me, and Lud. Any cradle of blood.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
And then I put a note here that I think that Tick-Tock is already scarier than Gasher is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's for me, it's not even close.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Gasher, kind of a weasel, just whatever. I mean, he's there's a danger to him, but
if a weasel bites, you still can be like, okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if a wolf bites,
Yeah.
or a bear, that kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of imagery that I have with that.
Yeah, exactly. And then my last note for this section, I think with Gasher, he was violent, stupid, and stupidity can be bad because if they're made to feel stupid, they can lash out.
Which we saw with Gasher and Jake.
Yeah.
Jake mouths off to him and Gasher smacks him one.
Yeah, but Tick-Tock is very, very cunning, intelligent, and very capable. Certainly the most dangerous non-synthetic creature in this city.
Oh, yeah. Cody asks in the chat, isn't the song Cradle of Love?
I mean, yeah, that's the song, the one song, yeah, that's like in American Psycho and stuff, isn't it? Yeah, I think
know.
so. I think so. And
Doesn't ring any bells for me.
an 80s song, yeah, I think it is.
Cradle of Love? Uh-oh.
Not Lud though. That's different. All right, let me
That's
look.
still too close for comfort.
Yeah, Billy Idol. Yeah, or so it's not American Psycho then, but yes, Billy Idol song, Cradle of Love.
That's too close for comfort for me.
We need to get Weird Al to make that up to be in Cradle of Lud.
No, God, no. No, thank you.
Yes, that would be awesome.
So going on here, Jake says he understands Tick-Tock. Tick-Tock says that he is going to have a question and answer session. He better answer him. Then asks if he understands him. Jake doesn't answer because he is looking at the ventilator grill which circled the chamber. Tick-Tock doesn't like being ignored and grabs Jake's nose between his fingers and squeezes it viciously, asking if he understands him again. Jake cries yes, but he keeps wanting to look at the ventilator grill and make sure that it isn't just a trick of his frightened, overloaded mind. But if someone notices him looking, they're apt to look too, and that would be very bad.
Being grabbed by the nose,
That hurts.
that's gotta hurt.
Especially if it's someone doing it violently.
Yeah.
Which-
Well, I don't think generally anyone's going to grab someone by the nose like
I
playfully.
mean, you do that. Got your nose.
But you don't even. That's not even grabbing their nose. You're just kind of rubbing their nose.
Yeah.
But to grab someone's nose,
Wow.
I don't think that's going to ever be dainty. But I think in this case, it's yes, very violent.
Yeah, and my note here is now Jake has made Tick-Tock mad, and he is hurting Jake, which makes me hate Tick-Tock. Because that's not the appropriate response. You leave
Yeah.
Jake alone.
Yeah, then my note, someone of the type of Tick-Tock is not going to take kindly to anything but the fear and reverence that he feels he deserves. And Jake is appearing to ignore him here, which is not the best move.
Not a good move.
Kind of like we were clocking with Gasher, where it's like, don't make him feel stupid. Like, you are going to get yourself hit if you make him feel dumb. Like, you just need to understand that in your head. Same thing here. Like, Jake didn't know he was doing it, but he was essentially coming off like he was ignoring. And you can't ignore a guy like this.
No, it's just like you can't laugh in his presence where
No.
your laugh is annoying, like the woman did.
Yeah.
So,
But maybe that's why everyone can't keep their eyes away from him for long. Maybe he demands that kind of attention, and if he feels he's being ignored in any way, he will. Maybe he's killed other people that we,
Yeah.
And I just, this is the absolute wrong move. And I know Jake's not doing it on purpose, but that's not good.
and then so that's where my last note is just, what did Jake see? What's got
John McClane.
Yeah, it's McClane with the lighter. Come to the coast full of laughs.
McClane.
I mean, it's Christmas time after all for that great Christmas movie.
Not a Christmas movie. Not a Christmas movie. Don't start that nonsense.
So Tick begins his question and answer session with what his name is. Jake gives him his full name, Jake Chambers, and then he asks if Jake is a Nazi. Jake doesn't understand Tick, who still has him by the nose, shakes him back and forth by it.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, and yelling, asking if he's a Nazi or a Nazi, and to stop playing with him.
And let's be clear, that's not NOT hyphen CSEE. So that's what he's saying. Because when you say it, it's very clear.
It's very clear what you're saying. But if you have any kind of an accent, it might not. And Jake isn't understanding him here. Jake sees the old machine gun that is slung over the throne and realizes what he's trying to say. He cries he isn't a Nazi and that he is an American, and all that ended long before he was born. Tick releases his nose, which instantly starts to gush blood. Go figure. He's been.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And says that he could have just told him that to save him pain. Isn't that just typical, like, narcissist, sociopath?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you just say so? I wouldn't have hit you then, son.
Yeah, victim blaming.
Yeah, exactly. He also says that now Jake understands how things are done around here, doesn't he? Jake nods. Jake's eyes drift back to the ventilator grill, and he sees two gold ring eyes. Oi! That was perfectly timed. Tick slaps Jake, sending him into Gasher, who immediately pushes him forward again, which just reminds me of bullies just now. Like, you have the one bully in front, the one bully behind, and you hit the kid stumbles back, and he pushes him back into the bully.
Yeah.
You know?
It's playing rebound. You know, like in basketball, you got the rebounder that's...
I'm sad that you know that. like tag.
I'm just thinking of the mechanics of it.
Uh-huh.
It's the rebound kid.
So Tick says to look at him when he's talking to him and to show some respect. Again, one of those things we were just talking about. Like, not good to ignore him or look away from him and everything.
Or be perceived to disrespect him.
Exactly. Jake says, all right, and Tick asks, all right, what? Jake doesn't know what to say, and he gropes for the right answer and realizes what would have worked at his own cradle of the pubes, otherwise known as the Piper School. All right, sir? Tick smiles and says it's a start and asks what an American is. Jake starts to talk, trying with all his might not to look at the ventilator grill.
So, real quick, just I know you got some notes, but again, I'll lose this because this wasn't an actual note.
Yep.
You know who TikTok reminds me of? Not physically, but like how you feel. Tuco from the Breaking Bad universe.
Yeah, you don't want to...
That dude, you never felt comfortable when he was on screen. Like, some of the other villains in that show are, you know, like cunning, vindictive, but they're very controlled. He was a fucking loose cannon.
He would go off and shoot people, you know?
Yeah, every scene he was in, you were fucking like, your hands were in fists. You were just waiting for something to happen. That's the way fucking TikTok is. Like,
very much like a Joker type character. You never know what he's going to do.
Yeah, you're just bracing because it's like, what the fuck is this guy going to do next? That just barely dawned on me as you were reading that, where I'm like, this is fucking like Tuco.
Dude, that's a perfect segue into my note, which just says TikTok it doesn't seem like a guy you want to cross.
Yeah, no.
In any way. Just like that with Tuco. You don't want to say the wrong thing. If you sneeze and you don't cover it, he might fly off the handle and cut your throat.
Yeah, exactly. Like the one guy spoke up in the very end of the first season, and he ends up beating him, and then going into the second season, he ends up killing him. Yeah. And it's just like, just because the guy said the wrong thing. Like, so yeah, Tuco is just easy. You feel uneasy every time, and I think TikTok would be the same way.
Giving off that vibe.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing Oi was a huge boost for me the first time reading. They found him.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my God, we're here. But not only that, but Oi is in the ventilator shaft. He can see Jake.
Yeah.
So, oh, thank God, you know, kind of thing.
Oi.
I love that.
He's probably just waiting to see, like, where can I bite him again?
Stop it.
Oh.
Why?
I love how worked up you get about it.
Slander. That is pure slander right there. So we see the real Tick-Tock Man now. So this is the end of my subchapter 28. You're going to do the next two subchapters.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to summarize here how quickly we get to see the real Tick-Tock Man. In one subchapter, it's a little bit longer. He is violent, and he is in charge.
Yeah.
Everything, even Gasher serves him. He killed a woman just for laughing. You said it a couple times, for nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's nothing. She laughs like twice.
Yeah.
He looks at her the first time, the second time.
Because she didn't laugh at an inappropriate time either. He just said, because it wasn't his answer, something like, oh, I've told her about that annoying ass laugh. Like,
yeah.
It's literally nothing.
It's literally that her laugh is shrill.
Yeah.
Is the thing. He hurts Jake by throwing him across the room, pinching his nose so hard that it bleeds, and slapping him in the face. Jake is trapped with the pubes behind two pressurized
grays.
doors. Sorry, the grays. Yeah, I put pubes, but yeah, you're right, the grays. Behind two pressurized doors.
Yeah. Very, very bad.
This is not a good situation for Jake to be in. Although we do have the one slim sliver of hope, Oi is in the ventilation shaft.
Yeah. And then my notes here, man, this last stretch here makes me want to go back to Gasher beating Jake on the way down here. This seems much worse. Also,
right?
Poor Jake. Like, I just, because especially that end there, like, honestly, what I pictured in my head was almost cartoony. But like in the cartoons, when you have like one character that's being beat up by like a bunch of other, and they're just getting thrown on like a ping pong ball.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was picturing for Jake. He's just getting brutalized from all sides here. So yeah, it's just, I don't know how, but somehow, man, Gasher was much better than what we're seeing now.
Right.
Which is hard to see. It's funny they also don't they know about Nazis but not Americans.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying.
You feel like there'd be like some literature in the plane or something that would be like whatever. I mean, because I even think even if Quick were a Nazi, like it could be that he just doesn't bring anything over, like he doesn't talk about anything from our side. So I don't know. It's just weird because I don't know. It just
I
picture
it as the pilot came across, got spooked, crashed, and then Quick's men were the ones that found it, rebuilt it, figured out how it worked, stuffed him in somehow, made him fit because he did
Crisco.
not. Yeah, Crisco, like greased him up and slid him in.
Grease me up, woman.
And then, okie dokie. And then he went to go find.
Mike says, I was worried the bumbler was going to attack again. Have you or a loved one been injured by a bumbler attack? You may be entitled to compensation.
You're the worst.
Mike, that's awesome. Also, Cody mentioned Billy Idol as well. Yeah, that's what I found too. When I looked it up, he probably already knew it. I had to look it up. And he said that's what it reminds me of. Rock the Cradle of Lud. Guess Eddie and Jake could start a rock band.
Susanna on drums.
Again, I want Weird Al to do Cradle of Lud.
There you go.
Just take that song and
it would be
transform
a tragedy in 2 parts.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving over to subchapter 29.
Yeah.
Got a couple a little bit shorter than that one, but 29 is the shortest. 30 is a little bit longer, but nowhere near as long as 28.
Yeah.
So 29, Roland holsters his guns. So we're now outside the doors with Roland. He holsters his gun and attempts to turn the valve wheel, but it makes no move, and he is not surprised by this, but realizes that it is a problem. Oi is at his heel, looking up at him impatiently, waiting for Roland to open the door and continue their tracking. Roland only wishes it were that easy. He figures it's not good to just. It fears it would not be good to just wait for someone to leave. It could be hours or days before anyone leaves, and they could be flaying Jake alive while he's sitting out here waiting. So that's a happy thought.
Yeah.
He leaned his. Oh yeah. Also, did I say it right? Flayed Jake alive while he's sitting out here. So that's the other part of it there. What is it? The Boltons in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He leaned.
Flayed man.
Yeah, he leaned his head against the door but didn't hear anything, which did not surprise him. He has seen a door like this before, and you could not shoot the lock out and certainly could not hear through them. He knew that sometimes there was not only one door, but other times there was also 2 facing each other with a dead space between them, and he knew that somewhere in there was a button that would spin the wheel and open the door. If Jake could reach that button, then things might be okay. So, I love that none of the revelations that Roland is discovering here really surprise him. It's almost just a formality, and I think we've all been there. Like your kid locks you out or something, and it's like it's locked, but don't you still try the knob?
A couple times.
You know full fucking well it's locked, but you still try it because it's just
I've done that before. like you're like, hey, come over. I'll meet you there. Then we'll head up and we'll go get dinner. And I'm like, great. And I come over and I'm like, I don't see his car, but. Nope. Yep. It's locked.
Yeah.
I knew it would be.
We've all been there.
You always lock your house and everything like that, but I still had to check.
I feel like we've all been there at one time or another.
Yeah.
You know the answer, but you still freaking do it for some reason.
Yep.
If Jake, I'm sorry. Going back down. So we've all been there. We've tried the knob, even if you know it's locked, or in this case, the wheel. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yep. I don't like the idea of Jake being flayed alive. That upsets me quite a bit. Yeah. I'm not a fan.
We don't need to see Jake die a third time.
No, not in that way either. God.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not a happy way to go.
No, I'm not that he's had happy ways to go previously. So, again, King is a monster.
It's true.
And Jake is one of his probably worst victims.
His punching bag.
Seriously, man. I also love the simplicity of animals. Oi doesn't know that the door is locked. He is just getting impatient for Roland to open it.
It's also not that he doesn't know. It's just that he doesn't care. It's like, just open it. Let's go.
No, I just don't think the animals comprehend locked doors. Animals understand doors, but a door is just a thing that the person goes to, opens, and you go on. Yeah. So he's just sitting there like, come on, dude. Open it, let's go. He doesn't why would an animal even have a thought of a locked? Outside of some animals like birds that can actually see their cage locked or whatever. Mm-hmm. But a dog, it doesn't know. It just knows, hey, that's the door. The human opens the door, then I go outside.
Bark, bark, open.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the simplicity of animals. Also, Roland has seen a door like this before. That is an interesting little nugget. So much of Lud, and especially as we get closer to this room, has been far more modern than so much of Roland's world. Just makes me wonder, what other adventures has he had that he's run into?
Right.
Because, again, we talked about it. This is a very advanced kind of door system, right?
Everything from the moment they cross Lud. I mean, first we got suspension bridge.
Suspension bridges, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers.
Like, that's not an easy thing to build.
That's not an easy thing. You have to understand how to keep a building from toppling over if you build it 40 stories high.
Yeah.
But that's actually what I have here as my note. It's moments like this that intrigue me so much about Roland's world. Again, it always comes to me, is this our world but the future or another world?
Exactly.
We've seen things that point both ways.
Yeah, both directions.
You know, we see a world that seems like it's a dystopian, nuclear holocaust kind of future.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an abandoned gas pump that they're worshiping. But then we see here a city that's mostly intact, that has working electricity and pressurized doors and lightning and a clean cradle that self-cleans itself at the Cradle of Lud with Eddie and Susanna. So it's baffling to me to try to understand, what is this world?
Exactly.
And I love it because it's like I was talking about earlier. It's this great, big, scrumptious meal, and King just keeps dropping little things. Oh, you're adding bacon to it now. Oh, you're adding cheese to it now. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, no, because again, it's cool because Roland's not only ran into it enough times to know that sometimes there's two of them facing each other too.
Yeah.
He's not just like, oh yeah, I've seen one of these like valve doors before. No, but I've also seen ones that have a dead space with a second door, like we talked about, containment area.
Yeah.
So it's like,
wait, so when did he encounter that?
Exactly. It's like, King, I'm going to need you to put away all your other writings. We just need Dark Tower stories forevermore, because there is more that needs to be found. Going on here, Roland understood that he is not a full member of this Ka-Tet, and even figures Oi to have a stronger connection to the New York Tet members. He figures that it is not only Oi's nose that brought them here. Roland remembers how he had been able to, I guess I should state that a little bit better. It was Roland believes it is not just Oi's nose that brought them here. Mm-hmm. And then moving on, it says Roland remembers how he had been able to help and project a message to Jake about the key during the drawing. He had been able, or he had to be careful because it might either tip the Greys, or worse yet, Jake might misinterpret the message and do something foolish. So yeah, if we remember, Roland was able to send a message. Jake had the key was stuck, and Roland kind of projected from his world to ours to tell Jake what to do to get the key free. So we have set up that there is a possibility of that, not only between these two, but also that was across worlds. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, they're both near the door, but this should be easier. This is just a door that stands between them.
Not
Same
a
universe.
door to another world.
Exactly. But if he could see, Roland closes his eyes and aimed all of his concentration towards Jake. He thought of the boy's eyes and tried to find them with his Ka. At first, he saw nothing, but then he began to see a face surrounded by long gray hair. He understood that this was the Tick-Tock Man, and this was the descendant of the giant in the plain. He looked beyond him to see the rest of the room. Oi says ache, reminding Roland that this is neither the time nor the place to take a nap. Roland hushed him without opening his eyes. He could not see much else, likely because Jake was so focused on the Tick-Tock Man. Roland opened his eyes, slammed his fist into his other palm. Whatever's left of that hand there. He thought he could push harder and see more, but it might alert Jake to his presence, and Gasher or Tick-Tock might smell something is afoot. So a lot of danger involved here, but trying to push through and see. But I love that too, the fact that he can't see the rest of the room, because I feel like in pop culture in general, when some power like this exists, it's just kind of a deus ex machina, and the person's able to just get everything they need. So I just love that it is only really his face, and the rest of what Roland sees is darkness. Yeah. And it's explained probably because Jake is focusing on nothing but Tick-Tock.
Right.
So
and when we saw that in the last subchapter, is that he's constantly drawn back to him. He can't look away.
Yeah. So I just think that's awesome. I think that's cool. It's not just like Roland's able to look around and go, okay, there's 6 of them in there, and there's the dead one. Here's where the door is. Here's where Jake is. And no, it's not. It's all he can see is that. But it does show us there's a connection there. So.
Exactly. And that's I have a note here. It's fascinating. He's not a full member of the Ka-Tet. Have we heard that before?
Yeah, he told him that when he first talked about the whole thing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not new, but it is a restating of it for sure.
Just kind of that blows my mind that the leader isn't a member, kind of thing. It's just kind of interesting to hear that every time it comes up. It's just like, whoa, really?
Yeah, we have heard that earlier.
Yeah.
So my next note, it's interesting that Oi's tracking might not have been all nose, but something a bit more supernatural. It makes sense with what we saw, as the scent would not have lingered over liquid, and not to mention the odors that likely permeated that tunnel.
Oh yeah, who knows what's down there?
Yeah,
you know?
so that wouldn't have been logical that Oi could have just smelt the whole thing.
Yeah.
Something more is afoot.
Yeah, afoot, yeah. Another great world building moment here. They can see through each other's eyes, but only if they focus together. Like we saw before, what you mentioned with like Dutch Hill and everything like that. He saw through Jake's eyes for the key and everything like that. But if they focus together, they'd be able to see through each other's eyes, which is interesting and just a fascinating like world building moment for me. With like, oh, this isn't just a straight up like Western. Like there is a lot more to it.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah. I love that King is calling back to the projecting abilities, but then tying Roland's hands so that it's not as simple as it could be. It's only half the answer. That's good writing, even if it is frustrating.
What's it called? Where you...
as a reader, I just want Roland to get it all. So it's like, cool, let's figure this out. But no, it's like, cool, you can't see it all, but you can't see them. So it's like, cool, you give him a little bit, but not too much. I'm just like, as a writer, awesome. But as a reader, fuck you. Give me more, King. Come on. Help him out here.
Yeah, there's a thing called for that where like a writer writes himself into a corner and then just instantly, and then this person realized they had this power.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. There is that. I mean, I think sometimes it does well if you have a good writer too. Again, second reference I'll have to this, but Breaking Bad did that a few times where they never really wrote with an end in mind overall. So there were times that they were like, well, fuck, we've really written ourselves into a corner here.
How are they going to get out of this?
How the fuck and it took them a lot of work to figure it out. And like, that's why I think sometimes those things feel so like good when they finally pay off and we watch it, because it was just like, it was hard for them as writers too, because they wrote themselves in such a corner and then they had to finagle their way out of it, but not in a cheating way.
Because it makes
Annie Wilkes would be
we talked about that yesterday with the movie Misery. It's like, no, that's cheating. That's not what happened last time and stuff like that. And so it's just interesting to see King doing that with Roland. He's made a very serious situation here, and he's not giving Roland just an easy out. You know, Roland doesn't just close his eyes and the door's open, you know,
exactly.
Kind of all of a sudden he has the force and he can just manipulate the locks and everything.
Yeah.
Or Roland doesn't just instantly go, oh, yes, I remember how to hotwire these. I did these a little while ago.
Yeah. Like every movie character that somehow everyone knows how to hotwire.
Yeah,
a vehicle.
Hotwire a car,
every single person.
Or if someone shoots out a lock, like a digital electrical lock,
it opens the door.
It opens the door. It's like, wait, is that really what would happen if you destroyed the control panel?
Wouldn't you default it to stay locked if the lock were blown out, like on a computerized? Like if you were a designer of a lock.
I just think about what happens if you pick up your keyboard, Tad, and smash it. What happens to your computer? It doesn't instantly, like if it's locked when you do it, it doesn't instantly unlock and go, here's all the secret files.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Tad's evil plans for Peter. I know they're on there.
Oh, well, no, they're all here, sir.
Don't keep any hard copies, huh?
Exactly. So then moving on, it says he looked up and saw a narrow ventilation grill. He then looked down at Oi. Roland had wondered several times just how smart Oi was. Now it appears he was about to find out. He reached up with his good hand and pulled the grill out of the hole in a shower of rust and dried moss. The hole was far too small for a person, but not small for a billy bumbler. He picked Oi up and whispered into his ear, "Go, see, come back. Do you understand? Don't let them see you. Just go and see and come back." Oi gazed up into Roland's face and said nothing, not even Jake's name. Roland had no idea if he understood, but knew pondering about it would be a waste of time. He put Oi in the air duct. Oi sniffed the dried moss and sneezed. And then looked doubtfully at Roland with his strange eyes. Roland said again, "Go see and come back." And Oi disappeared into the shadows of the shaft silently with his claws retracted, walking on the pads of his paws. Roland drew his gun and did the hardest thing, waited. So, a lot of fun stuff there. I love that moment in movies or shows when a person or many people are looking at a problem and then they all slowly everyone looks to one person or beast that they know can solve the problem.
No. We are not slandering Oi with that title.
I'm not saying him.
You put some respect on his
I'm not
name.
saying it for him. I'm saying in general, when you're watching shows or movies, there's a person or a beast or an animal, something that is the solution to the problem. And everyone at the same time looks at it. I love that moment. I know it's cliche, but I love it. I always have. So
a man can't fit here, and then they all look at the kid.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely that moment here with Oi and the air duct. I'm trying to think. There was one where yeah, what was it? Stranger Things. Wasn't there a point when like they had an air duct and nobody could fit except for one of the kids?
Yeah,
and they end up like pushing him in and stuff.
It's the younger sister, right? Like
I think so. Yeah. Again, it's happened multiple times, but I'm sure in that they all looked at her when they realized that nobody else could fit. It's just it's again, it may be a cliche, but I like it.
Don't slander Oi by calling him a beast. He's not a beast.
I mean,
no.
He attacked Jake.
No,
I
did not.
I didn't call. And beast is a general term, sir.
No, it's not.
We saw Annie Wilkes call the pig a beast as well. It's like I told you.
How you use beast is very specific. No. You don't call just any animal beast. You call them beasts with what freaks me out.
There's beasts, there's birds, there's reptiles, there's fish. There's just those are the kinds of animals, sir. Larger subgroups. This felt like a huge risk the first time I read it. I mean, I know there's very little choice, but man, was I nervous. Because so far, let's be honest, Oi has not proven to be a very quiet creature. He tends to bark and talk and stuff, and I'm just like, do you really want to send him in there? Like, this seems like a dangerous... Again, I know there's no choice, but I was nervous.
So you just kind of answered my question. I said, did you feel nervous because of what we just saw with Jake and Tick-Tock, or because you didn't trust Oi yet?
Because again, I even there, when Roland was like focusing, he's like, he starts talking and stuff. It's just, he just, and it's not, again, it's not even like a fault. It's just the way some animals are. There's some animal, sometimes you'll have a dog that just, it'll bark when it gets excited. It's just the way it is. So it's just like trusting a human versus trusting an animal. There's always gonna be some nervousness because it's just like, do you understand? And it's just like, you don't know. Like this is a risk that they're. I mean, yes, following, but I felt very natural. Like, an animal can follow a scent. This is going beyond what you would usually ask an animal to do. So I'm just nervous a little bit about this going in because I'm like, God, I hope this works. I hope he doesn't just start fucking. Once he sees Jake, he starts flipping out and starts saying, hey. That's it. What's going through my head is like, is that what's going to happen? Because he's obviously so like keyed up right now for Jake that it's like, is he going to blow the cover? Or I don't know. Those are all the things going through my head as I'm like, this is a danger here, Roland.
Okay.
I know there's no choice. Nobody else can fit through this small vent because this isn't the freaking Die Hard building. And
where the vents are, or a Batman movie where Batman can crouch and walk through them.
Exactly.
Mike says in the chat, he is an untamed animal.
Yeah. I mean, you could have said untamed beast as well.
No. Stop it.
And then Carol says, to be fair, Tad has a point. Oi was cast out from his own kind because he talked too damn much.
That doesn't make him bad.
No, but it's just that the fact that you need him to be quiet and stealthy, he's not necessarily...
Hey.
He hasn't proven that this is his strong suit. So it's just nervous going in.
I think your next note proves that he knows what to do.
I mean, yes, that is, and I do love that. The fact that he does retract his claws.
He knows what's up.
And walks on his little cushions.
Yeah, walks on his little pads.
Little pads.
He knows what he's supposed to do.
That makes me feel a little bit better, but still, once he sees Jake, that's the thing that made me the most nervous. Is I'm like, when he sees Jake, is he going to fucking flip out? Because we know, obviously already, we've been given enough information that he loves Jake. And when he gets excited, we've already seen it a couple times.
We did see that he left the grill in the last subchapter. I didn't exactly cover it in my notes, but he did leave. He comes, Jake sees him, then he leaves. So,
yeah.
So, I don't know why you would be nervous thinking that he's going to bark when we already know that he doesn't. That's just you trying to slander Oi.
And Carol says, no, Peter, just being fair to Tad, Oi is a very good boy.
No, there is no fairness to Tad when he's slandering Oi.
Oh, I love how worked up I can get you. So now it says, going on here, Oi returned in less than 3 minutes later.
Because he's a good boy.
Roland took him out of the shaft and put him on the floor. Oi looked up at him, and Roland asked how many people he saw. For a long moment, Roland wasn't sure. And I guess that's the other thing we could talk about, too, is the timing. So now we've also timed up where we're at with Jake's plight and Roland's.
We're past that.
Yeah, now we've passed that moment. Yeah. So we kind of, if we wanted, we can merge those together and kind of figure out where it's all at. So for a moment, Roland wasn't sure if he'd get an answer as Oi just stared in an anxious way. Oi lifted his paws, extended a claw, and looked at it as if trying to remember something very difficult. Finally, he began to tap on the steel floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 5, 6. Oi paused like a child in a massive mental struggle and then clicked his claw one more time and looked up at Roland and said, ache. So 6 grays and Jake. Roland picked Oi up, stroked him, and said, good. But in reality, he was almost overwhelmed with surprise and gratitude. He had hoped for something, but this was beyond his hopes. He did not doubt the Count. He said, good boy, and Oy responded, Oy, ache. Roland thought yes, Jake, to whom he had made a promise he intended to keep. So that's an interesting line there. Let's see, I'm trying to remember, did I even make note of that? Because remember, when he gave that promise, King gave us the internal monologue where it's like, was he true to this? Roland himself doubted in that moment. This may be one of the first times we've come back to that.
Are you talking about
when he says, I won't let you fall again?
No, remember, I'm thinking of the promise after they cross the bridge and Gasher's there. He says, I'll come for you. I'm thinking of that promise. He's like, I'll come for you.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the bigger promise because
they're
the same thing, right? It's the same.
That's what I'm just wondering is that there was no doubt cast that time by King. So that's
true.
That's why I'm wondering if which one. I wonder which one King's referring to here.
Yeah, I guess I took it as the larger promise because this is the first time, and honestly, everything we've gone through so far is kind of proving that first promise Roland does intend to keep. He had his doubts, but so far the actions are not.
The actions speak exactly for what he promised.
For what he promised. So that's pretty cool. So this blew me in my notes. This definitely blew me away. Definitely seems to be maxing out the intelligence of the creature with his apparent struggle with recalling the information. Again, it's like one of those things. Like you see these people that like highly trained dogs, and there just comes a certain point where there's just the dog intelligence only goes so far. There comes a point when even you get the smartest fucking breed, you get someone that trains them for 5 years, but there still comes a point when they just you're tapping that top of their level, and I feel like you're kind of getting that here. Not that he's even trained, right? He's not a trained animal. He's still maybe he's a little bit beyond feral now, but because he's kind of domesticating himself a bit. Yeah, but it's not like he's gone through massive training. But Roland has definitely maybe reached the high point of what Oy is capable of mentally. Exactly, and that's not a negative thing. That's how animals are. Like birds are the same way. Sometimes there's
a certain point where you're like, okay,
except for crows.
That's it.
Crows are creepy. They're like they have the intelligence of like 8-year-old children. Like their problem solving skills and stuff is
the thing that always blows me away with crows is them being able to remember someone who was mean to them. Yeah, and to communicate that to the rest of their murder. Yeah, that person was mean to them.
I've even heard that those like the knowledge of like someone will even go generational.
They'll teach it to their chicks.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, God, man.
It's not. The first time I ever read that, I was like, oh my God.
I want a pet crow.
I can see it.
I also love that he gives a huge pause and then clicks the last one and says, Jake, no confusion here. Six grays and Jake. Because I feel like that isn't necessarily like him trying to like remember. Yeah. For that, I think that he honestly, he knew 6 and then Jake. So he did 6 and then he's letting that pause drag out so that he could do that last one and then say Jake. So that Roland has no misunderstanding. There's 6 and Jake. Yeah. So that's speaks to more to his intelligence,
and he was focusing because he didn't want to forget.
Yeah,
that's what I took it as, is that he's sitting there, he's focusing. Tap Jake.
Yeah,
ache.
Yeah,
that,
and he's letting that buffer be there. So,
but while that buffer's going, he registers that I have to remember this next one is Jake.
Yeah,
I have to remember that it's him. I cannot forget this. I can't let it slip my mind and stuff.
And
like
also,
that.
Oy doesn't realize that one of them's dead too.
No,
I mean, he wouldn't know, right?
No.
Not from as far away as he is, or I mean, would he even? It depends on how the room's set up. It could even be set up in a way where he just sees the feet of the person that's down
underneath him,
and he doesn't know their person's dead.
Jake was really next to her, so
yeah,
maybe that's it. I just have my one note here is that Oy is so smart. He definitely seems like more than just an animal smart creature. Kind of like what you were talking about, is that there's a certain point where you can train up an animal and stuff like that. He is something else, and that just like. Another thing for this world is just like,
I guess he talks, right?
Okay,
we're
getting to the point where it's like the companion thing here, and like it's a talking wolf or it's a talking bear. Oh, that's going to be something more than just a one-off kind of character, animal character. He's something else, and that's this is that moment here where I'm realizing that with him. Yeah. Like we get glimpses of how smart he is with everything that happened on the bridge, where he doesn't. Like get vicious or anything like that. He delicately releases Jake's hand and everything.
Look at you there.
And he lets people like wipe the blood off of his mouth.
Yeah,
he's shown far superior.
And
intelligence.
He dodged the punt too.
Yeah, from Gasher,
because Gasher did try to punt him.
He knew what was coming.
Yeah.
He knew that he couldn't.
And
trust
doesn't that just
Gasher.
make you hate Gasher that much more to
Trying to
remember that
kick
he
a
did try to
bumbler?
punt a bumbler off the bridge? That's what he was trying to do.
He was.
So, let's see. Carol says, Oi is a very smart and very good boy. Cody says, didn't he do 4 and then pause and 2 more then Jake? Yes. Yeah, that's how I read it, or unless I misread it. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, 5, 6, and then another pause and mental struggle, and then he clicks one more time and then says Jake. So that is correct. And then David says, I love a good Frank Oi. You think you ever will switch it up and give us George Oi? And I guess that's true.
Other Oi.
See, when it said Frank Oi, like Frank Oz is what I read. Like I had to pause myself. I'm like Frank Oz, like I guess Frank Oz could do the voice of Oi, but of course, yes. No, I've never really thought about that actually. I'm trying to think of how he does Oi, George.
It's been a long time since I've listened to the Dark Tower books.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it for sure. I definitely do love the one I've got. But at some point, I might have to spice up the old soundboard here and get a little bit more things.
You should just slip it in at the end of an episode and not tell anyone again.
And then Robert says, Tad, with the talking crows on his shoulder torturing Peter, this podcast would go viral. Yeah. Oh, dude, I already told Peter just this week, actually, that if I ever did domesticate a crow, or not even domesticate, but like you can train crows, get them to like do your bidding.
Befriend a crow.
There was a guy in New York that trained a whole mass of crows to pick up change and bring it to him, and eventually got to a point where he was able to stop working because the crows were just go in the city, grabbing every piece of change they could find, and end up being at a point where he had enough to live off of just that. And it's like, see, if I were to get that, one of them at least would be dedicated to torturing you. Be outside of your window, tapping on your window like the judge in the stand. Sitting on your car, just because I know they make you uneasy. So there'd be,
it was really bad driving over to California. Man, I'll tell you, going across
desert.
Nevada, there's nothing but ravens and crows.
I love it.
And that's Randyland too. So just like, ugh.
Yeah. Let's see. And then you did your note on Oi there. Yep. So then my last note, also we have seen Roland brought to tears with his mind splitting. We have seen him largely relieved by being ceased of the voices, and equally the joy of having Jake back. But this almost giddy surprise and gratitude feels super unique for this character. I don't want to say that we haven't seen him emotional, because we have, but I don't think the emotions have been this same kind. This feels unique to me. I don't know. What do you think?
A little bit, yeah. Like the deep
he's hiding
gratitude
it.
And the happiness and everything.
He's hiding it from Oi, but he does have it, and for us as readers, we're able to see it, and it just seems unique to me. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Next up, going on here, Roland thought deeply in his strange manner, a combo of dry pragmatism and wild intuition, which likely came from his strange grandmother, Deidre the Mad. And it had kept him alive all these years beyond his companions. Now he was depending on it to keep Jake alive. He picked up Oi again and thought that Jake might live, but the bumbler certainly was going to die. He whispered several words into Oi's ear, repeating them over and over. He then stopped and put him back in the shaft and whispered, "Good boy, go on now. Get it done. My heart goes with you." And Oi responded, "Oi, art, ache." And scurried away into the darkness. Roland waited for all hell to break loose. So Peter's getting a little upset here. Reading this, I'm certain. The first time, I could just see you just fixating on that somber note. I seem to flash back to episode 7 when you were pouting at the tail end of that movie because you thought that Chewbacca had bit the dust.
Yeah.
So I just kind of picture maybe a smaller version of that, but I feel like that Oi would certainly die is a line that
this was definitely one of those moments where I went no while reading it.
Yeah,
the first time.
Yeah, I love the insight into Roland's lineage, and just the name makes me want to know more.
Oh yeah,
Deidre the Mad, and also just a question. Or maybe I actually have that as my next note. If you had to guess, do you think that's a maternal or a paternal grandma?
I don't know.
I think it's maternal.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I don't know why. It just feels like his mom would be like this.
Yeah.
What is it? Deidre the Mad. It's just I don't know why. It just strikes me as that for no reason at all. It just feels right for some reason.
Mom's mom.
Yeah, because I feel like he's gotten so much from his dad with the Eld and all that stuff.
Okay.
But I feel like wouldn't it be just apropos that like there's something he gained strongly from his mom's side, and it's this intuition type stuff. So I like that. And then also King breaking people's hearts by telegraphing the potential death of Oi here.
Yeah, and that's what my note is. This broke my heart. right after seeing him saved and being a hero, helping Roland track Jake to his reward is death. Like, come on, King. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, he introduces this awesome character in this book. You get to see him bond with Jake and stuff like that. You get to see him creeping up and not.
Do you blame Roland at all?
Everything like that. To save Jake, how else is he going to get in that room?
Yeah.
You know, like, if there is no other way, there is no other way. I don't exactly blame Roland for it.
Yeah.
But I wonder what Jake will think.
Yeah. Also, I got to point out, I missed it on Robert's message. He gave us an emoji in there, so thank you, Robert, for that. I always appreciate emoji. I know we had some earlier too. Cody had one earlier. Robert had a couple earlier as well. So, and Mike also had one. So thank you guys all for your emojis. I do appreciate them for no reason at all.
Yeah, no reason.
So moving on to subchapter 30. We get a repeat of the last line we heard from Blaine. He says, "Ask me your question, Eddie Dean in New York, and it better be a good one. If it's not, you and your woman are going to die no matter where you came from." Because if we remember, Blaine was threatening to kill them when he was very intrigued by the fact they were from New York. He asked them to prove they were from New York, but then that was where it paid off afterwards. He's like, "Cool, better ask me a question. I don't care where the fuck you're from. I'm going to kill you." So
yeah,
so we got that. So also just a note before I go on any further, we are now back with the Deans. Then, so in this episode, we will have visited all three sides of the coin here.
Yep.
So Eddie is thinking,
it's like the Battle of Endor. You get to visit all three different battles.
Yeah, you just keep bouncing around. Eddie is thinking, how do you respond to something like that? The dark red went out and the pink one reappeared, and little Blaine says to hurry and that he is worse than ever before and says hurry or he'll kill you. Eddie is vaguely aware that the pigeons are still flying around the cradle aimlessly, and some have slammed into the pillars and fallen dead, which that's brutal.
It's not a good scene.
Into pillars too. We've heard of birds that will run into windows that, like, they don't maybe see or perceive, but pillars,
solid walls.
Good God, they're in an absolute mania. Susanna asks Little Blaine what he wants, but gets no reply. Eddie begins to feel that their time is slipping away, and he pushes the talk listen button and speaks with sweat pouring down his face and neck. He asks what Blaine has been up to these last few years, and guesses that he's not been making the southeast run. He then asks why not feeling up to it. No response, and Eddie begins to imagine artists screaming as his cheeks melted and his tongue caught fire. So that's a fun thing to think about. Because, of course, lightning teeth is there, too.
No, stop it.
He then felt the hair on his neck stirring and clumping together. Was it fear or gathering electricity?
Yeah.
That's a happy thing, because that would happen, right? Like, even if it were nervousness, you would then perceive that as electricity. You just start psyching yourself out. So
that's where you get into your own head, right?
Exactly. So jumping back here right after after a few subchapters, and immediately King rebuilds the tension of where we left this scene off. I think repeating that Blaine line is a great move in case people have forgotten over the course of the last few subchapters, especially because we had a couple that were kind of long. So I think that's killer for King to just throw that line back out there, let people remember right where we left off. It's kind of the last time on.
That's literally what my note is, almost previously on Eddie and Susanna.
Because you just have to sometimes. So
great minds think alike, right?
Yeah, it just
because Tad does his reading, his sections, and then puts his notes in, and then I come through and I put my notes in. So Tad had no idea that I put that.
Yeah,
it just shows that we both thought the exact same thing with this. Is that we did spend a lot of time with Jake there. Then we spent some time with Roland and Oi.
Yeah.
And now we got to refresh what's going on with Eddie and Susanna. So what a better way than to
just replay that line.
Replay that line, and then also go into like the he's gonna kill you, the little voice. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. Cody says maternal. Perhaps that's why his mother was preyed on by Walter.
Oh.
That's an interesting thing. If her mom was a mad, whatever, I don't know, that would maybe open her up more to, Walter's schemings.
Yeah.
And then we also have some emojis in the chat. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Mike. Got a gas pump. We got a thumbs up to a bird. I wish it were a blackbird, but
beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, exactly. I know how limiting the emojis can be at times.
Symbol monkey, anyone?
Dude, I wish there was one. I really do. I cringed at Eddie here. I didn't know for sure what Blaine wanted the first time reading this, but I kind of felt that the small talk like this is not right. But also it's so Eddie at the same time.
Just talk.
But you just cringe though, because it's like,
Yeah.
Eddie, this isn't right. I don't know what he wants, but that's not right. It's
Shut up.
not that. Yeah, please, Eddie, you're gonna get yourselves killed here. Yeah, and I love King further animating artists in our heads to further ratchet up the tension and show what could befall the Deans here.
Yeah.
What with melting tongues and whatnot.
Yeah.
King is at his heart is a 5-year-old that loves just gross people out, right? And he's proven that many times over the years, and it doesn't change. Some of his newer books have stuff where I'm like, King, you're still a 5-year-old. The little Blaine line repeats about hurrying because he is worse than ever before. Eddie asks, who built you anyway? As he is thinking to himself, he has no idea what this thing wants. He asks if Blaine wants to talk about it and asks if the Greys built him, but says, nah, it's probably the great old ones, and then trails off. He feels the silence of Blaine like a physical weight on his skin, like groping hands.
Dude, I hate that. I've experienced that. I hate that. You ask someone a question on like a phone call or something, and then there's just that
Long
there's
silence.
a joke one time where guys were getting together to play a game, and he's like, hey, you set it to this, right? And then there's just and he's like, ooh, that's a loud silence. That's I liked the way he put that.
Or a pregnant pause.
That's a pregnant pause or a loud silence. That's what this is.
And
to
you're
a team.
so Eddie-ish that I can see that the silence just grating on you.
Oh, it does. It drives me nuts. I ask a question, like I'm on the phone with like a doctor's office, and I ask a question, and they're just like quiet. My brain goes to like the worst case scenarios. I'm dying of cancer, and it's like, oh no, your results were. She was just trying to find the paper, just like, oh god.
Yeah. So then he kind of loses his cool a bit and begins to shout, asking what Blaine wants and what the hell he wants to hear. No answer, but the buttons are glowing an angry dark red again. And then he knows that their time was almost up. He hears a low buzzing sound nearby, like an electrical generator, and he could not convince himself that this was his imagination. Then Susanna shouts Blaine and asks if he hears her. No answer. Eddie begins to feel electricity building. He feels the crackling in his nose with every breath, and every breath he took, and his fillings buzzed like angry insects. So there's your electricity teeth, sir. Oh man, I think we've told that story before, but you told me early on before you knew that revealing such things was foolish. But you told me that one of your worst elements of Star Wars is seeing the Force lightning in Luke's teeth in the Return of the Jedi. As it's coursing up through him, you see it go into his teeth. And at one point, it was early on, you told me that just gets you.
It's like some people react violently when you see someone chewing on tinfoil.
Yeah.
That's that for me. It just like makes my teeth hurt every time Tad brings it up. So of course he brings it up every chance he gets. So,
yes.
Because hashtag Tad is terrible.
And that was King there saying his fillings are buzzing. So, and then I said, my note here, dude, you could cut the tension with a knife here.
Oh yeah.
I think if it had been in your, or if I had been in your headspace that Jake was dying, or Jake dying would be a fake out and Eddie would die, I would be concerned for both of them right now.
Yeah,
being cooked.
That's where I'm just like, it's absolutely a fake out. Like imagine reading this the first time in my mindset and everything like that. Right here, dude, it's building up where Eddie's just gonna get a freaking lightning bolt right to the forehead.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
we're gonna see Eddie die right here in front of Suzanne, and maybe even she goes with him, and then Eddie and then it's just Jake.
It's back
Roland
to Jake and Roland. Like the first book.
We just saw that Oi's gonna die.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be Roland and Jake, and it's just going to come full circle.
Can't you see the poetry of that too? If it were just back to Jake and Roland,
and then Roland has to avenge his fallen Ka-Tet members, kind of thing, and everything. Yeah, the insect buzzing electric sound is so ominous, and the fact that Eddie feels it like in his teeth and everything like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, dude!
And feel it up your nose,
dude. It unnerves up his nose. That's what. Yeah. Yeah. It unnerves me so bad every time I hear it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then my next note, isn't it just perfect for Silence to sit on Eddie? You can totally imagine how Silence to him would be utterly repressive. Usually outgoing folks like Eddie are super, super uncomfortable with Silence. You see that at times too, where like you'll be in a room and like everyone goes quiet for some reason.
There's that one
person. You could tell there's someone in there that just is just dying. Like it just grates on them.
You've seen it with me.
And then usually they're the ones that end up having to break that silence. They say something or whatever to try to break the tension because it's just, and Eddie's that guy, right? We know Eddie's style so much that we know, silence is not working for him.
Yeah.
So then Susanna speaks again and says that she has a good question for him. She closes her eyes trying to remember, fingers rubbing at her temples. She then opens her eyes and says, there is a thing that nothing is, and yet it has a name. 'Tis sometimes tall and sometimes short. She then breaks off and looks at Eddie and asks him to help. She cannot remember the rest of it. Eddie looks at her like she is insane. What in the hell is she talking about? Which I love. Just because it is such a random poll for her, right? So Eddie just can't keep up. Like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about?
Especially with how frazzled he is. Like, he's worried about getting electrocuted here.
Yeah, and this is a deep cut. Like, they haven't talked about Riddles here for a minute, so I could see where that's just not the first thing that comes to Eddie's mind, where he's like, what the fuck is she talking about? Then it came to him and it made sense and clicked in his head like a jigsaw puzzle. He finished it in it joins us in our talks, it joins us our sports, it joins us at every game. What is it? That is our question, Blaine. What is it? The red light blinked out, and there was an endless moment of silence before Blaine spoke again, and Eddie felt the feeling of electricity crawling all over his skin was diminishing. Blaine answered that it was a shadow, of course, and said that was an easy one, but not bad at all. His voice is now animated and thoughtful, as well as what might even be pleasure or longing. Eddie wasn't sure which, but it reminded him of little Blaine. He knew that Susanna had saved their lives, at least for the time being. He kissed her brow. So yeah, that's
Way to go, Susanna.
Yeah, she pulled one out there for sure. I did not make the connection the first time, so I was not sure what he wanted as well as he was asking. Of course, King set it up earlier with the riddles between the Ka-Tet members as well as the riddle book itself, but those did not connect in my mind until this very moment when she started asking that. Then it made total sense to me. I'm like, oh, duh, the two books, train, riddles, like he wants riddles, and it made sense, but it took Susanna speaking up for it to really click in my brain. First time.
And literally, this is my note is I'm pretty sure my jaw dropped when he wanted a riddle. The lightning bolt moment of the riddle book and Charlie the Choo Choo, like the connection there. Like, we kind of understood Charlie the Choo Choo when we started hearing about Blaine and monos and stuff like that, and Jake's essay and everything like that has about the train. But what's the riddles got to do with anything? Yeah, like, it's got to be something. But I mean, it's Chekhov's gun kind of situation. Yeah. There's a reason that it's here and everything like that. But we never really got a hint that it was tied with the trains.
I think that's the other thing is I think the Chekhov's gun didn't really play to me, at least for this book, because I felt cool if Charlie the Choo Choo is for Blaine the mono. The riddles thing may not come until the 6th book, for God's sake. It could be this long con thing for King. So I guess for me, that's why riddles weren't in the front of my mind the first time, because it was just like, cool, riddles might be in book 5, 6, 7. It could be anywhere else. It may not be here. Maybe in book 4. I don't know. But I just didn't. It didn't click in my mind that it will absolutely be in this book. So yeah, right. I didn't know what the fuck you wanted.
Yeah, so that's why that probably played a part of it, is that I wasn't on my guard and everything like that with it. So when it happened, it's like that, like you said, like it just like realized like, oh shit, he wants a riddle. Yeah, like, I swear I remember like I'm laying in bed reading it during high school and everything like that, and just
jaw drop moment. Cody says, I played Charlie the Choo Choo. I died horribly 3 times in about an hour. Is that what it's called, Charlie the Choo Choo? That
Choo Choo Charlie. Choo Choo Charlie.
I know it's riffing on it. Yeah,
it's Choo Choo Charlie.
Yeah, I still need to play that. That looks like fun. We covered that earlier this year.
Choo Choo Charles is a survival game. For anyone who isn't familiar, if they didn't hear it, it's a game on Steam where it is a killer train with spider legs that has a horrible face that eats you.
Yeah,
it eats humans, and so you have a train of your own that you have to upgrade and try to survive this.
I will say, in our world, we need more trains with faces. That's all I'm saying.
We should buy it and play it together.
I'm just saying, in the real world, though, we need more trains with faces.
No. Vehicles should not have faces. We've watched Maximum Overdrive. It does not end well.
My next note. The emotion from Blaine's voice is unnerving to me. A machine should not be able to convey emotion. That makes me very uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah.
Especially
it's
one
like
that's
like Shardik seemed enraged.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like, I think if it's more humanish, like if it's C-3PO, I'm okay with it having emotion. But when you're talking a large train, no, not into that, man. That's gonna be a pass for me.
That's a hard no, brah.
Cody says it's quite efficient at eating me for sure. I do want to play it at some point. Next up, going on here, says Blaine asks if they know any more riddles. Susanna says lots, and one of their companions even has a book of them. Blaine asks if it is from New York, and Eddie clocks the pure greed in his voice. A former junkie could never miss it. Eddie says yes, from New York, and Jake had been taken prisoner by a man named Gasher. The pink returned to the button, and little Blaine says, "Good so far, but be careful. He is tricky." Which, isn't that just a fun, sinister little thing? The red light reappeared. Blaine asked if one of them had spoke. His voice was cold and suspicious. Eddie looked at Susanna, and she looked back with the frightened eyes of a little girl who hears something unnamed moving slyly under her bed.
Yeah,
that's a fun thought there, King. Thank you. Eddie says,
"Thank you."
Eddie says he cleared his throat and says that he is scared to death. Blaine says that it is wise. He then asks if the riddles that they are talking about are stupid, and he wouldn't have his patients tested with stupid riddles. Susanna says that most are smart, but she is anxious in saying it. And Blaine says that she is lying and does not know and they don't know the quality of the riddles. She starts to question how he could know that. And he says voice analysis is 97%. Then Blaine mimics Humphrey Bogart and says, "I suggest you stick to what you know, sweetheart. The last guy who tried shading the truth with me wound up at the bottom of the Seine with a pair of cement cowboy boots." So that's a fun thing there.
Not only I didn't make a note of this, but hearing you say that, just why is he able to mimic people from our
world? I mean, he knows about New York. Because remember, he did question them, like, prove to me you're from New York, and they started listing things, and he knew, okay, cool.
You are.
So again, it does answer. It begs big questions, though. How the fuck does this work?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you got here?
I just remember getting a bit worried about them doing stuff that could give away things to Blaine, like looking at each other with like fear in their eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I thought for sure he would have cameras and be able to see them. This whole section, I was waiting for that shoe to drop.
Oh yeah,
just like me
too. Actually, I remember that.
Do you? Like, yeah, it's just like, dude, don't show that you don't know, that you're fucking up.
Poker faces here. Come on now.
Yeah,
poker faces.
like come on,
come on, Deans, get it together.
I expected it, but even earlier you pointed out, didn't the I'm mixing it up. Is it the pubes or the grays?
Pubes are the more victimish on the surface.
Underground grays,
yeah.
The grays had to have had some kind of surveillance to be able to see Jake from
them
afar.
Coming, yeah.
So wouldn't it logically make sense that Blaine has something?
Blaine does too, yeah. No, it's true, yeah, for sure.
And then also,
King did set up cameras. It didn't work, the one outside the door.
That's true.
But there is a camera there, and he mentions the camera doesn't
and
work.
Everything in the cradle seems to be working. So
yeah.
Why wouldn't there be cameras where he could monitor them and everything?
Yeah, exactly. So also in the chat, Cody says it's tricksy, which is a fun little term there.
Yeah.
And then Carol says, "Well, damn, Blaine." So again, emotion, especially greed, not a good thing to hear from a machine who can kill you immediately if it wants to.
Yeah.
So that's whatever. He can analyze the voices and tell if they're lying. That makes things a whole lot more dangerous and difficult. So kind of like we just covered with Mr. Tick-Tock Man. King was ratcheting up things there, and he's doing the same thing here.
He's turning that dial.
He's turning it up. Oh, now he knows when you're lying. So that's wonderful.
But it does say voice analysis, so it's not saying like body language or anything like that. So I guess I should take it down a notch for that.
No, but voice, you got to talk
voice
to
analysis.
him.
Yeah, you do have to talk to him. But I'm saying like my visual cues that I was talking about.
Yeah. So that's what it comes down to. Does he really need to see? If he can analyze your voice and know 97% of the time if you're lying or not, like, what does it need to see for?
There's shows where like they have like heat sensors and motion sensors, but they don't have actual cameras.
Yeah.
Like I think of like Aliens where it's like motion sensors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they don't have actual cameras out there.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's what Blaine's running off of, is other stuff like that.
Yeah. Then my last note, a train is talking, threatening to kill our heroes, asking about riddles, and now is impersonating an old-timey Hollywood actor from our world. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
right?
What the hell is this? What the hell is this book? This whole series. It's just batshit in the best kind of way. Next up, Eddie reflects on all the ways that they have traveled only to meet a computer version of Richie Little. Rich Little, I'm sorry. Eddie asks how Blaine can impersonate people from our world. No answer. He then asks if Blaine wanted riddles. Why did he not just say that? But then he understood immediately that the answer, without being answered, that Blaine likes riddles, so he had given them one. So essentially his demand was a riddle.
Yeah.
Susanna had solved it, and if they hadn't, and he imagined they would look like large briquettes lying on the floor. So that's a happy thought. Susanna asks if he is still there, and he says yes, and asks him to ask him another one. Eddie asks when is a door not a door. Blaine answers immediately and says that they will have to do better if they are going to if he is going to take them anywhere, and then asks if they can do better than that, because of course that's it's when it's a jar, right? Is the answer to that one. Susanna answers if Roland were to get back, she was sure that he can, and regardless of how good the book is, Roland knows hundreds and studied them as a child. She then thinks to herself that she cannot imagine Roland as a child. She then asks Blaine if Blaine will take them. He says he might, and Eddie hears a cruelty in his voice. And then when Blaine says that they have to prime his pump to get him going, and his pump primes backwards. Eddie asks what that means. Blaine does not respond. The lights go orange, and both Blaines appear to be asleep, but Eddie knows better, and he knows that Blaine is watching them. That's probably smart.
Yeah. Isn't it? I got a note here that just popped into my head, so I don't want to say it before I forget. Isn't that just like a character in a story to think of something completely out of left field, like Roland is a child?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that just something just like, why are you thinking about that? But that is human nature. I know I've done it.
Yeah.
Where, you're in a meeting and you're talking with, and it's a serious meeting, serious stuff is going on, and then you're just like, where did he get his shoes? What? Focus.
Yeah.
Focus, Peter.
Focus.
Come on, focus.
Exactly.
Just like random shit will pop into my head randomly.
Yeah.
It's my scattered brain.
Yeah. So I agree with Blaine. I hate that door one.
Come on.
I feel like everyone that knows no riddles knows that one, and it is the most cliche riddle of all time. And I didn't put this on my note, but if I were Blaine, I would have zapped him just for asking that one. So, sorry. I hate that one, man. Just because it's so cliche. Everyone knows that one. I could totally see Susanna's point of view of not being able to imagine Roland as a child. She has only ever seen him in his full glory. We have seen a few glimpses of Roland in his childhood.
Yeah.
So it's easier for us than it would ever be for the Deans to imagine, because they've only ever seen him at his peak, right? And he's been kind of a father figure to them. It's kind of like every kid has that moment when they realize, like, oh, your grandma's not your grandma. Your grandma is your mom's mom. Some kids cry when they learn that the first time, because it's just like, to them, the whole world is them. So then when they suddenly learn that, like, no, it's not all about you, like, grandma is my mom, and it's a whole mind blow for kids at a certain age where it's just like, holy shit. I
saw a video that one of our coworkers showed us where this little girl's like, I'm not wishing him a happy Father's Day. He's not my father. He's my grandpa. That's your dad. I'm not doing it. It's just like, see, it's like some kids handle it better, and that's how I imagine you are. You're just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're heartless.
Another riddle from Blaine, it seems. It's definitely not the kind of train that really needs to be primed. It is far too futuristic for that. So that's just kind of my guess here. Is there some sort of riddle involved there? Because, dude, we haven't seen much, but we've seen enough. Blaine's not. I mean, does he even have fuel, do you think? Or is he just all electric or nuclear or something?
I imagine nuclear.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. He's not... Yeah.
The only thing I have a note here for is all I can think of when he says prime the pump is in Jurassic Park when Dr. Sadler has to prime something to get the power back on.
Oh, yeah.
And it's that big flat gray switch.
Oh, yeah.
And she struggles. There, primed. And I'm just like, that's all I think about whenever it comes up. We got to prime the pump. And I just think about Dr. Sadler with that big old flat gray thing.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's one of those ones that there's like word association from 5, 7, 8-year-old Peter with Jurassic Park. It's primed.
Yeah. Carol says, without looking at pics, I cannot imagine my grandparents as anything but old. They were old when I was born. Exactly. And I think in the same way, Roland was fully formed adult, full-on gunslinger when these two were born into this world. So it would be hard for them to picture a young Roland, I bet, right? Just because
it always blows my daughter's mind when I'm like, I was smaller than you at one point, and she goes, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
well, big guy and everything like that. She's always known me this size and everything. So for her to imagine me at 4 foot nothing and 40 pounds dripping wet, she's just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No, Dad, no.
Yeah. And then Carol says, old being relative, of course. Yes, indeed. Eddie looks at Susanna and repeats the line and states the obvious that it is a riddle. She answers, of course, and pulls him close and whispers in his ear that Blaine is totally insane, schizophrenic, paranoid, probably delusional. Eddie agrees, saying that Blaine is a lunatic genius ghost in the computer that likes riddles and goes faster than the speed of sound, and says, welcome to the fantasy version of One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest. She asks if he knows the answer. He shakes his head and asks if she did. She says there's a tickle on the back of her head, but it might be a false light. Then she says that Roland said all riddles are sensible and always solvable, like a magician's trick. She tells him to go fire another shot to let Roland know that they are still here. Eddie says if only they knew if they were still there or not. She asks if he thinks that they are, and Eddie says that is a riddle that even Blaine cannot answer, which is a perfect end line for a subchapter, of course. Like that's,
and as far as we're going,
and that's the end of the. It was, but we got some notes here in the spoiler discussion. So I love the cuckoo reference because Eddie is certainly referring to the movie, but that movie did not exist in Susanna's time. She's 11 years too early for that movie. But the book would have been published 2 years before she got drawn, so likely it would have been a very popular book at the time. So I just love this Back to the Future thing where like he's referring to a movie, but she interprets it as a book. There's never even a discussion. Like
they don't even realize that.
Like she doesn't question like, oh, you're talking about the book, and he doesn't go, no, you're talking about the like. No, they just both like, oh, she's like, oh yeah, he's talking about the book. He's like, oh yeah, she knows about the movie, and that's just they move on. I'm a nerd, I know, but this shit just makes me giddy a little bit.
Yeah,
I love it. Because I had to look it up because I'm like, I knew when Cuckoo's Nest came out. It was in the 70s, so it's beyond her time.
I thought it was 60s.
But I Googled. I'm like, I think it was based on a book. I'm like, I wonder when the book was published. And yeah, 62. So I mean, she was only a number of days into 64. It was January, February we figured out.
I think it's like 60-something days since Kennedy had been assassinated.
So it's barely in a year. Yeah. So ultimately barely. So we're talking it's a book that's barely a year old. So and I'm assuming it was popular since they made a movie off of it. So she probably understood. But I just love that because it's just they're on different wavelengths. But it's not in a way that like it's causing troubles, because we have all seen that in movies where two people are talking and they're talking about different things and they don't realize they're talking about different things and the answers, and we as an audience know, and it just makes things worse and worse and it degrades everything. So, but yeah, what do you got?
Blaine would drive me absolutely nuts here because I hate playing a game without understanding the rules. It's one of those things like there's been times where I've gotten a video game, me and you both gamers and stuff like that. I've gotten a video game where it's like there is no tutorial that just kind of like throws you in and you just have to kind of learn as you go. I hated when games started that.
Yeah.
I hated it at first. I'm like, no. Teach me to play your game and then start the game.
Yeah.
You don't start the game and then teach me as I go. I've, of course, adapted. That's how almost all video games are nowadays.
Well, back in my day, we had manuals.
That's true.
That we'd read.
And you'd have to read the manual, but the problem was I didn't have a video game console. So I'd have to go over to a friend's house or a cousin's house to play. And so I'd always be like, well, how do I play? And they'd be like, oh, you'll figure it out. And I'm just like, I hate this. I hated video games for a while there because I didn't know how to play. So I'm always one of those people that when you get together with someone and they're like, all right, let's play this new game. And I'm like, okay, how do you play it? And they're like, oh, you just do this. And I'm like, okay, what else?
Yeah.
Well, you'll figure it out. No. We're going to talk about this and we're going to get it so that I feel comfortable. So here, Blaine's like, yeah, do this, figure it out, and I'd just be like, "You son of a bitch."
So he's rubbing you the wrong way.
Absolutely.
Okay. Carol also says, I remember my grandson trying to understand the concept of me being his father's mother. Yeah, I just think like it trips kids out. I've seen kids that cry because of it. I see other kids that just refuse. Like, no, that's not real. You're lying to me and stuff. So it is hilarious. And then Carol also #Peter is right. I was taught to follow the directions. I need directions.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't say
it's not fair to play a game with someone who doesn't know how to play.
Games don't really get to me as much, but in general, I'm much. That's why I had a hard time in high school getting art credits, because I hate art because it's not. There's no rules, right? Like I'm more of a math and science kind of guy because there's very hard and fast rules of those things. It's easy for me to then learn those rules and understand what we're talking about. But when it's art, it's just like, oh, you just got to do that, whatever. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? How do I draw a tree? Oh, well, just do that, whatever. And there's no instructions. I'm like, no, sorry, this isn't my thing. And I know
piss off, Ghost.
I know that's the whole point of arts, but I hated arts because of that. It drives me crazy.
It's the reason why Minecraft took so long for me to get a hang of it, is that you just kind of had to stumble. That's why I won't play vanilla Minecraft. If you play vanilla Minecraft, you have to stumble across how to make things. Like, unless you just have the memory of it, like, so there's players out there who know that, oh, a stick and 2 planks make a sword and stuff like that. I hate that. I don't know it. I want to know it.
Yeah.
So I literally have to play with a mod that lets me look up like a recipe book that shows like, oh, I want stairs. Click. This is how I make stairs. You know, it shows me that. I can't stand that, which is why I didn't play Minecraft for the longest time, because I thought it literally was just a game that you just go create stuff out of your imagination.
Yeah.
Like you're saying,
it's modern day Legos.
Like, here, Tad, go build. And I know you didn't do Legos.
No,
I didn't do Legos because of the same reason. Here's a box of Legos. Go make me something.
What am I gonna make?
I made you a tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a tea. You know, that's what I can make. That's the extent of my imagination when it comes to that. But now, if someone gave me a pad and a paper and said, "Here, go write a story," I'd be like, "Okay, I can do that." But like that artistically, like Lego drawing and stuff like that, no.
Yeah.
Not my forte.
Yeah.
So exactly like what you're talking about is like I can't do it without the instructions. Like,
yeah.
That's why I found out Lego sets are actually kind of fun, because it's like,
I mean, now they have instructions.
Put this piece together to make the
Yeah.
Batman ear, and I made a Lego Batman thing.
Nowadays, yeah, but not when we were kids.
No, when we were kids, it was like, here's 5,000 bricks. Make whatever the hell you think you can make.
Yeah. So my last note, I assumed that Susanna knew something with the itch in the back of her mind. Seemed like she solved the riddle, so figured that she would probably be the key for this next riddle. That's just kind of my gut check when I was reading it the first time, because she had that itch. I'm like, that's probably a tell from King a little bit that she's going to have the revelation at some point. That was my gut check. I figured it wouldn't be Eddie just like suddenly like, Eureka, I've got it. Like, no, it's like
you set Chekhov's gun, right?
Exactly. It's exactly that. So, Carol says we had Lincoln logs, very limiting.
Oh, I remember Lincoln logs.
Yeah, me too. And when we were kids, they were wood.
They were.
And now I think they're plastic.
Yeah.
So now we are going over to...
Love it.
Warning. Spoilers ahead. Warning. Spoilers ahead. Warning. Spoilers ahead.
So now we've entered the spoiler section. If you are not finished with the Dark Tower series, you now want to turn the podcast off, maybe come back when you have finished the series, because everything here will potentially spoil things beyond where we are right now. So that is your warning. Anything further is your own doing if you keep listening. So what do you got here in the spoiler section? You got the first one.
Do we ever find out why Tick-Tock is so against the Lord Purse stuff?
I mean, he talked about it being a bad luck story. I think it's kind of a superstitious, like sailors is the one I always find are the most superstitious. Like, there's all these superstitions about sailing. I think that's
never take a ship out that's not named. And stuff like that.
The fact that he called it a bad luck thing, I think that's the answer. It's
a bad luck story.
Yeah, it's something that can bring bad luck and doom upon you type thing. So
I just want more like, why do people think that? You know, that kind of thing. So it's just interesting for me.
Probably because it was said right before Mr. Quick took off.
Yeah, yeah. And then they're like, he's like, I'm changing my name to Lord Perth. And then he flew, and then a poet was standing next to his dad and said, and so fell Lord Perth. And he's like,
yeah.
Grabs the guy and just chucks him off the bridge into the River Send.
Yeah, indeed. My first one here, Coffin Necklace is sure more interesting on a reread. What with the next book giving us Coffin Hunters. I don't know. I know there's no connection exactly, but it does make my ears perk a little bit when it's like coffin shaped thing on his chest. I'm like,
Coffin Hunters.
Yeah, I'm like, big Coffin Hunters. You never know that the first time reading it, but on a reread, I was like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Do we ever get a sense anywhere outside of this book that Roland and Oy are anything but full Ka-Tet members? I feel like this book, at the start of the Ka-Tet idea, it is presumed that Roland and later Oy were kind of outsiders because they were not from our world. But my feeling is the rest of the series, this is abandoned, and they are all seen as full members of the Ka-Tet. I mean, Roland is called Din later on.
Which is like Ka leader.
The leader. They all come to him, as the leader. So it's just, I suppose it could be that this is Roland's belief that we're seeing, and he's just wrong. But the other option is that King kind of changed his mind or dropped this element, kind of like Susanna seeing the past. I feel like that kind of gets dropped after this book. I don't think we see her do that again the rest of the way. And I think it's kind of the same here. I outside of this book, do you remember any time that we ever get a sense that Roland and Oy are not part of the Ka-Tet?
No. I'm answering a different question in my head. Sorry. I never get the feeling that they're not members of the Ka-Tet. I think that book 4 is Roland's initiation into the Ka-Tet, is what I feel.
Sharing his story.
I feel sharing his story and giving up part of himself to them.
So Roland's wrong. It's like right now, Roland's wrong. Is how you read it.
No, Roland's correct right now. He's not a full member of the Ka-Tet. He's on the outside looking in. So is Oi. I think Oi's initiation is about to happen when he goes in to try and save Jake. I think both of them get initiated here in this book and in the next book, respectively. Oi this one, Roland the next one.
Okay.
And then I think that it's not necessarily the king drops it. I think that it's Roland doesn't see himself as a member of this Ka-Tet because the goals are kind of differently. Like Eddie's tried to explain it to him, like, dude, we're still going to the tower even if you die.
Yeah.
But Roland still doesn't believe him. So for me, I think what it becomes down to is that when Roland shares his story and they still accept him and they don't run from him, like, oh my God, he's a monster. At that moment he realizes, oh, shit, I actually am a member of this Ka-Tet. And that's why you see a shift from, look at Roland in this book, look at Roland in 4 when he's talking to them, not major stuff.
We'll have to watch in book 4. I wonder if there's a time that it actually like
clicks.
Yeah.
Where you actually see it and everything like that. But just look at the difference between how he's acting here, post insanity, and then pre telling of his like pre book 5.
Yeah.
From the curing of his insanity, drawing Jake, to the start of book 5. Look at how Roland acts. And then look at how he acts in book 5. It is a light and day's difference, and that could be a switch with King.
The humanizing of Roland starts to happen.
Well, it's also after the accident.
Yeah.
So book 5 is written after the accident. He may actually be like, this isn't right for Roland. I got to make him more human. I got to make him a member of this Ka-Tet and stuff like that. And it could just be that, because it's book 5 where he follows Susanna to keep her out of trouble, and he starts doing the Din stuff and everything like that.
I think you're onto something. I think it's 4. I
think 4 is where the switch flips. That he's like,
I feel like in the first conversation though, he says that I'm not part of your Ka-Tet, and I probably never will be. Like, I'm always going to be outside of your guys' circle. Like, that's kind of how he conveys it early on. So again, it's just, and the other part of it we also got to realize is that the longest gap of books is after this one.
This is true.
Or no, it is after this one.
After 3.
So there is, and also, I don't know, maybe there's just some breakage that whatever. But no, just because there's this and the Susanna thing, I just feel like Susanna ends up getting a different ability, the ability to create pure creation out of her mind and stuff with the Dogen and stuff. So I feel like we just get a whole different thing from her later than we get now. And Roland obviously becomes the ultimate leader member of the Ka-Tet. So this idea of him being outside is just, it's weird.
It's so foreign.
It sticks out when you're rereading, where it's just like,
it's so foreign when you remember Jake coming to him in Wolves of the Kala and riding up to him and going, let me talk to you, Da Din. And Roland's like, how'd you even know that? Kind of thing. Like, but it's literally like, let me speak to you as if you're my superior and you're going to advise me on a problem that I'm having.
Yeah, almost father.
Almost,
right? And Eddie calls him father.
Basically, that's what it is. Yeah. So, but I think that if you're going to point to a time, I think it's 4. It's after he finishes the story. They're still sitting around on the highway and everything like that. And
it's the opening himself up. It's the I'm not exposing. I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't know, just vulnerability, making himself vulnerable and to them, laying it all bare. Maybe that's the thing that
Everything.
really, I just wonder if King actually has anything that actually points to that, where it's like,
well, we know that he's famous for not having an outline and everything like that with the Dark Tower. So
true.
He is kind of just going by the seat of his pants for every book and everything. And I wonder if that when he started book 5, he goes, well, shit, I need Roland to be kind of a father figure.
Yeah,
more of a leader than he has been. So book 4 is where he flipped and he's a member of this Ka-Tet.
But it makes sense story-wise for
it does.
4 too, right?
It does.
Because really he is kind of keeping himself outside of things a little bit, because he is hiding his whole backstory from them. So he is not embracing them the same way that they're embracing each other. So that could be it. That's certainly, if nothing else, it's a retcon that you can say as a fan, to say like that's how you explain it away. But it'll be interesting to watch as we go through book 4 to see if we ever find King address it potentially. In the
Carol
text.
makes an interesting point in the chat. Roland own insecurity popping up. Maybe that's what it is. It's just Roland insecurity that he never feels like he's going to belong again. The gunslingers are all dead. These are new gunslingers, but they're not from our world, my world.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be a member of their Ka-Tet. I'm not going to be part of this. I know I can't be. So she might be onto something there as well. But I think that book 4 is where it comes together.
I'll build on that a little bit, but go a little bit more even negative.
Sure.
Is Roland keeping his distance?
Oh, why
from
would
the
you,
rest of 'em?
Wouldn't you? After everything that he goes through so far.
Exactly.
Like, look at what he lost in Magus. Look at what he lost at Jericho Hill. Look at what he lost in between those two.
Yeah.
And since Jericho Hill. Wouldn't you be scarred and kind of on the defensive like the entire time?
Yeah, Jake stuff too. So it could even be that. Like that is a little bit more of a negative spin than just his insecurities, but it's just like kind of the cold calculating Roland part of him where it's just like none of these people matter. I will see all of them die if I need to get to my tower. Like
he says that.
Yeah.
He says that. He's like, I know that I'll have to sacrifice some of them probably.
Yeah, and Carol says he thinks he's going to get them killed sooner or later. So it could
That's
be.
true,
It could be.
yeah.
There's definitely a lot of possibilities, but yeah, definitely this gets brought up again here, and it jumps out at me like a sore thumb every time I cross these passages in this book. So I'm like, not part
What do
of
you
this.
mean, not a full member? He says full member. He's a member of the Ka-Tet, but he's not a full member.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like the ancillary Ka-Tet or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then reading my last note here, reading this the first time, did you think the Oi was going to survive this Grey's showdown?
No. King kills him, right?
Yeah.
Like it's King. He's killed a boy twice in this book.
Yeah, I thought he was
in
gonna.
this
I mean, I
series.
thought he was gonna die on the bridge. So then it's like cool. Then you save him on the bridge.
Oh, he has a purpose.
You see him prove a purpose. But yeah, here's a part where it's like,
there's no way out of this.
yeah, it's just It I don't know. Yeah, I didn't. I had no thought that Oi was gonna survive here. I thought Oi came in this book. He'd go out in this book, and then they'd move on as the group.
I'm all worried about how much of a formidable opponent Tick-Tock is for Roland.
Yeah.
But then Roland sends Oi to fight him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, not a chance.
Yeah.
A man fast enough to move without Jake, who's looking straight at him,
Yeah.
to move, throw a knife, get his hand back,
Yeah.
and the woman to have it embedded so deep in her breastbone that a man can't pull it out. And we're not talking about like an old feeble man like one of the pubes. We're not talking about a young kid or anything like that.
Or the river crossing.
We're talking about someone in their prime. It
Yeah.
specifically calls that out. And it's Oi, a Billy Bumbler. It's like, dude, you're sending a dog to die.
Yeah,
Like that's what it feels like here. It's
like those mine dogs.
Oh yeah, or like it's like a Fox and the Hound, where the grizzly comes popping out and it's just a little hound dog that has to go against that. Dude, that dog's dead, right?
Yeah.
What? As soon as that bear bursts out, you're like, that dog's dead.
But like in World War II, like I'm talking the mine dogs. I'm not talking about the ones like they'd send into minefields. I'm talking about ones they strapped with explosives.
Oh God,
to
yeah.
go run at tanks and then
Run under the tanks and they stand up and
Yeah.
detonate and blow up the tank and kill themselves.
Yeah.
Suicidal mine dogs. Yeah. Russia was intense, dude. Germany did it too, right?
I think so. Yeah. And then Cody says maybe he's not a full member of the Ka-Tet because he hasn't told his whole story yet. Which I think that's
what it is.
That's definitely a huge possibility. I'll be really interested to see because we know that Roland's a whole different character after book 4.
Yeah.
I think emotionally, I think there's a little bit of vulnerability in this book when he was losing his mind early on.
Yeah.
Like he opens up to Eddie and Susanna in a way that I don't know. Like if you had somebody read book 1 and they see Terminator Roland, and then you had them just read that section where he disarms himself and he's crying and weeping and talking about killing himself.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone would even this isn't the same character?
No.
Like that took a distance to get there, but it's like if you just had somebody just read Tull and then you have them read out of context that scene, it makes no fucking sense.
They're like, what the hell is this?
There's a little bit of evolution with Roland, but I really think the massive evolution that moves to the idea of like Roland kind of gaining his salvation through his cycle starts after the book 4 conversation.
Absolutely.
Because that's where he truly opens up to them. That's where he truly, I think, starts to care for them well beyond what he does now. Maybe that's even where the doubts of like, am I going to let Jake drop again? Maybe that'll go away after he opens up and, because fuck, he's not even open with his younger Ka-Tet.
I mean, we know
we know Cuthbert knows him, right? Because they're so close together, growing up together. He knows him in a way that you knew your best friend as a young kid. You just knew everything about them. But he was very closed off to them. He didn't let them know shit. It was more
even
about
like his plan that he was developing while having, copious amounts of sex and everything like that.
Yeah.
He still had been developing a plan, but he wouldn't let them on
no
to that.
No.
How much would that have eased their mind if they had known,
Exactly.
he's still developing a plan while he's having his fun.
Yeah.
But, at least he's doing something about our situation,
Yeah.
He's not just, doing nothing.
Yeah.
So
they knew him because they were his peers.
Yeah.
But he wasn't open to them. So
Exactly.
after book 4 though, he's open to these guys. This Ka-Tet, unlike anyone he's ever probably been open with.
Absolutely.
You know, because I don't think he would have been open with his mom as much. His dad, I mean, Court, no. That's a whole different relationship set.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
but yeah, I think we're in agreement. I don't think any of us thought Oi was going to survive. That was my question. What do you got? Your last?
Last two are just kind of the last one's just kind of funny, but this one is a little bit more serious. Do we get any other instances of looking through each other's eyes?
The only
where it's like not looking one way. I'm specifically asking about Roland talks that both of them can look through each other. Roland can see what Jake's seeing. Jake can see what Roland's seeing. I don't think that's ever brought up again. I know that looking and trying to see through their eyes.
Yeah.
One way, yes. But, you know what? There is an instance. Jake and Oi do it in book 7. They swap. They do a mind swap kind of thing to get through that little mind trap.
No, I remember that, but I remember that being a one-way where it's like he has to go through Oi's because Oi won't perceive the
but
the
Oi's in
threats.
Jake's body. Remember, they basically swap bodies. Is kind of what it's like.
Yeah, but Oi doesn't. I mean, the Jake's eyes stay closed and stuff because again.
But Oi is still in there. He could open the eyes if he wanted to, but he kept them closed because Jake told him to.
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting part to get to. I think that's the only instance.
I thought of that instance too, but that's only one way though, because again, it's more about Jake. Like, if I open my eyes, I'm going to see everything that it wants me to see, and I'm going to get fucking stuck here.
Right.
But if Oi is probably safe from that, so let me get into his head so I can see his eyes guide us through that kind of thing. So
remember, he tells Oi that he has to pick him up, and Oi's trying to figure out how to use a human body, and he picks up Oi/Jake.
Yeah.
So I guess it is a double.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, my last note is just a fun one. I want to Roland in a Bumbler a book now, just a buddy cop story, solving crimes in Gilead and whatnot.
Make it a cutesy little kids book. A little 15-pager.
Yeah. The
adventure of Roland and Oi.
Not Oi. It'd have to be someone else, but a Bumbler.
Yeah.
Roland and his Bumbler, something like that.
Oh man.
It could be fun.
As long as he doesn't get attacked on a bridge, we're okay.
Bumblers don't attack people on bridges. That's slander.
But that's it for this one. We have if all is going to plan, which it still is, although the news that broke could change things. But if things go according to plan, we will be finishing this book on the 22nd of April, which means that Wizard and Glass will be started on May 20th. So that's the way things look right now. But of course, the Flanagan news could potentially throw a wrench in that and potentially see us, because right now we've converted to doing every other book club roundtable.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, if the Flanagan stuff, especially if we were to see somebody actually greenlight it, I have a suspicion we're going to be going back to 2-1, 2 roundtables to a book club, because there'll be too much to cover.
There's going to be a lot of news, a lot of speculation, a lot of stuff for us to cover, and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just like there was with the movie.
Yeah.
We constantly had to have news articles and interviews and set photos, and costumes were leaked and all that different stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it. And for this episode, we'll have the outro stuff in just a second. And then the year-end bash is in a fortnight. But let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff. If you want to subscribe to us on any podcasting service of your choice, you can do that. You can stream us on Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music. Join us for the live streams on youtube.com/darktowerpalaver, like the year-end bash. That'll be a fun one. And then the show notes, there's nothing for this episode, but normally our show notes and everything Dark Tower Palaver, the hub for the Dark Tower Palaver universe, is the darktowerpalaver.com website. You have links to everything there. What we should do is get it set up to where all of us, if we have, I don't even know how many links we've got, but build it like the beams.
Oh, the 12 beams.
I don't know if we'd have 12, but maybe we can make some kind of spoked thing for all of our links. That would be fun.
It would be fun.
I would have to get some kind of web page designer though, because basic stuff that's well beyond that's
beyond your expertise.
Yes, exactly. But then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. If you want to watch along Misery with Peter and I know Peter had a lot of fun watching Misery there.
Yeah.
Of course I did too, but
oh yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I know Peter really enjoyed the hobbling scene.
Yes.
So if you want to do that, support us over at Patreon, and then we will be back once Peter. I'll also mention one last time, in a fortnight we'll be back on the 31st for the year-end bash. Peter can let you know how to get in contact with us. Remember, if you want to get your moments in, you have a fortnight to do that, to get those emailed in. Give us your best moments so I can add those all to the list.
Yep.
And then we'll build up
again,
the
just
bracket.
to throw it out there as well. A moment is a shorter instance of a particular scene. not an entire thing. Like the example we keep using is door 2 and
Or 3. 2 is probably a
door
moment.
door 3 in drawing of the 3.
Yeah.
You can't do the entire door because that's just too much.
It's too long.
But if you wanted to do the scene where Roland catches fire and is running down into the subway and how he gets back through and everything like that, or the confrontation with the 2 cops at the gun store, that's fine.
Yeah.
Shootout at Balazar's, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what we're looking for. Shorter moments, not an entire, 5 chapters going over.
Mostly, like Eddie's door is too long.
Absolutely.
Way too much stuff going on with Eddie's door.
Yep.
So, if you want to, Peter, want to read through the.
So how the best way to send us for those moments is to email us. It's darkttowerpalaver@gmail.com. But you can send them on social media, but we do prefer email. Social media is the Twitter is @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. Thank goodness it's still up and going. Our Facebook is facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/user/DarkTowerPalaver. That's where you can get things. There's the hashtag Tad is terrible, and you can get that in any number of different products, like
or just the regular Dark Tower logo with no slander involved.
You can get a coffee cup with that on there.
I don't know why you'd want to. I think you just want the normal Dark Tower logo.
So the truth that Tad is terrible because he keeps slandering Bumbler named Oi. Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. We'll be back in a fortnight for the year-end bash. Get ready to join us there. And we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks, and happy holidays.
Indeed. All right, thank you guys in the chat. You guys are awesome. Love having you guys part of the conversation. And yeah, we will be back for the year-end bash. We will have slides and stuff that have our
Dreamcasting.
Yeah, also for the call-in.
The call-in stuff.
Yeah, Skype. That's the one.
We're doing it through Skype. Right.
Yeah, we'll have the Skype thing on the slides, so make sure to have a Skype thing ready if you guys want to be part of the call-in. We haven't had as many call-ins over the last number of years since we have the live chat, so maybe you guys don't want to, but if you want to be part of that, you can. But yeah, I'll also we'll have some Dreamcasting fun to be had. So we'll see you guys. Slander Slinger. Hashtag Cody.
That's Tad, slander slinger right there.
But no, that's you. You're the one always, peddling the slander.
This is the truth, sir. Saying this Oi attacked anyone on a bridge is slander.
I bet you Jake still has the wounds on his hand, right next to all the gasher and
yeah, it's been like 10 minutes. I mean, come on.
He's forever scarred.
Oh, you stop it.
Because of the Bumbler. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Long days and pleasant nights, and we will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Everyone, happy holidays.